City Clerk, please take the roll.
Councilmember Dowling.
Here.
Councilmember Alinsky.
Here.
Councilmember Garrison.
Present.
Councilmember Howdigy.
Here.
Councilmember Pratt.
Here.
Vice Mayor Piper.
Here.
Mayor Jones.
Here, thank you. All right, the next item is the Pledge of Allegiance, and we have Gunnar Tillmans, who is the chairman of the Cottonwood Youth Advisory Commission, with us tonight.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And we have a certificate for you. You may have 2 or 3 on your wall already, right? So we just like to say thank you for your leadership. Look at your mama. Thank you, Gunnar. That was not a good picture, did that? The next item is a brief summary of current events by the mayor, city council, and/or city manager. The public body does not propose, discuss, deliberate, or take legal action on any matter brought up during this summary unless the specific matter is properly noticed for legal action. City manager?
Madam Mayor, council members, 2 quick items. As you found out, Mayor, we're going to be striping the streets.
Oh, okay,
Yes,
are we? And
uh,
after work, after the rush hour, that's a good thing. So I think it was well planned, actually.
So they'll be out doing the long stripes good part of this week, and then they'll work on the crosswalks and make those a little clearer.
Great.
They'll also be doing parking stalls down here in Old Town, and so that's moving along. The following week, we'll be doing pavement preservation, which involves most of the city parking lots around the city. And so there'll be some disruption for some of our larger lots as we move to put on slurry seal or chip seal and restriping. And that's it, Madam Mayor.
Council members?
Yes,
Mr. Howdigy?
if I may. Yesterday morning, I was informed of the passing of Mike Baker,
Oh,
former
no.
council member, City of Cottonwood. He served with me on my first term and half of my second term. And so Mike's passed away. And the thing about Mike was, I was thinking about the saying about what you see is what you get. Well, with Mike, it was a lot different. Although you saw him as this cowboy, Levi's, boots, hat, and looked like he could take on the world, this guy had a heart of gold and a very intelligent mind. And he served this community well. I don't think he was highly recognized for it, but this guy put his whole heart and soul into being a council member. And in many issues, personally went and talked to the individuals that had the issues going on with the city. He served the city well. So Mike's gone, and like his friend that called me told me, it's the end of an era. We won't have another Mike. So anyway.
Thank you. I can remember when working for Supervisor Davis, how he was always there in the water fight. I mean, he
Right.
was the first one to drive over the hill with documents and always there for the public. So I'm very, very sorry to hear that. He did serve well. So, Councilmember Pratt?
Yes, I'd like to remind everyone here and everyone watching that registration for summer and fall semester is still going on at Yavapai College. We have a great College for Kids program going on, so if you're looking for something for your kids to do for the summer, look into that. Friday evening at 6 o'clock is the graduation, and we invite you to attend that. It's always a great event. It's a big family event. And I'd also like to announce that Saturday night we had a concert for the Veterans Memorial Park. And although I couldn't go, I was able to buy 2 tickets for a student who is an ex-Marine or a former Marine. And he went, and he said it was great, it was very well intended, and he even got me a signed, autographed Larry Gatlin and the Gatlin brothers.
All right.
So it was great that our citizens supported that, and I think our veterans appreciate us.
Great. Anybody else? Oh, yes, Vice Mayor.
Just want to remind everyone that Channel 3 is going to be in Cottonwood on Friday. They're going to start out in Old Town and spread around and be interviewing people and going to the different shops. So they start at from 6 to 10 on Friday morning, so come on down.
Okay, and we were all busy this last couple weeks since we met, because we had 2 Tuesdays off, which we always enjoy. When the calendar starts on Tuesday the 1st or 2nd, then we usually get 2 weeks without a meeting, which is always much appreciated. I went to a homeschool debate mock trial where the homeschoolers of the Verde Valley were in a contest with Tempe youth, and that was in our very own municipal court, and it was attended by a lot of youth. It was awesome. I attended a fundraiser. It was a bike ride for Cub Scouts, and of course, Jesse Wagner is a Cub Scout, and that's Nate's son from Cowboy Cafe, and so it was a fundraiser for the kids. Attended the Habitat for Humanity fundraiser that I think Vice Mayor was at, and maybe some other council members were there. There was a chamber mixer at the Susan J. Ream Adult Daycare Center, and a variety of many other things happening in the community. So what's coming up? Oh, the Birding Festival also was for 4 days. And I did the raffle, and I won this quilt. Isn't that awesome? I'm so excited that I could be the lucky winner of that. So it was my lucky day. Okay, moving on is proclamations. The first proclamation is proclaiming the month of May as Honor and Remember Month and Remembrance. And if you'll wait just a second for me to log on here. Okay, so we have with us tonight Sean Kreiner, did I say that correctly? And Paulette, to accept this proclamation. Okay, whereas the freedom and security that citizens of the United States enjoy every day today are direct results of the bloodshed and continued vigilance given by the United States Armed Forces over the history of our great nation. And whereas the sacrifices that such members of the United States Armed Forces and of the family members that support them have preserved the liberties that have enriched this nation, making it a unique in the world community. And whereas May is nationally proclaimed as Honor and Remember Month of Remembrance for all of our fallen military, all generations, all causes of death, and service branches. Now, therefore, I, Diane Jones, Mayor of the City of Cottonwood, Arizona, on behalf of the Cottonwood City Council, do hereby proclaim the period of May 1st through May 31st, 2016, as a special time to show appreciation for our military and proclaim it as Honor and Remember Month of Remembrance. And encourage all citizens to join me in showing our gratitude for the appropriate display of flags, ribbons, and participation in the display of the American flag and the Honor and Remember flag to be displayed for the month of May. In witness whereof I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of the city of Cottonwood to be affixed this 3rd day of May 2016. And I would like to ask Councilmember Howdigi to come up and give the proclamation.
That's beautiful.
Councilmember Howdigi is a Vietnam veteran. You're welcome. So when I come up here and he'll give you the
so much.
In more than 200 years of our nation's service and our nation's history, there's never been an officially recognized symbol that reminds us specifically of the sacrifices made by the members of our military and the lives lost in service to our great country. We're trying to change that for these selfless men and women who gave their lives for this country by displaying proudly and presenting to Congress for an official national recognized symbol of honor and remember flag. This year we're placing 328 American flags along with honor and remember flags in memory of those military men and women of the great state of Arizona at the Presque Valley Civic Center on May 21st. Each flag will have the name of a lost soldier, Marine, sailor, airman, or coastie, no matter the conflict. They will remain in place until May 31st to honor and remember. Please take the time, if you're in our area, to come to the Civic Center and reflect what each flag stands for. Read the names on the flag and help us to honor and remember Arizona's fallen heroes. We would like to thank the mayor and the town council of Presque Valley, Prescott, Chino Valley, Dewey-Humboldt, and Cottonwood for issuing a proclamation declaring the month of May Honor and Remember Month, and to agreeing to fly an Honor and Remember flag during the month of May each year to further remind all who see it to honor and remember those that gave so much. And to the patriots of this great land of ours, we would like to thank you for your support and welcome you home. Without each and every one of you, this would never be possible. The flag that Sean Kreiner is showing you is my son, Gunnery Sergeant Justin Robert Martoni, 32 years of age, lost on March 7, 2006 in Iraq. These flags we put a lot of time and effort into making sure that the families that want one of these flags get it. These flags are costly. They memorialize that one soldier, and they're issued at a cost of $350 per flag. They're done under, what did you say? They're done on a ceremonial basis. So should you know somebody in Cottonwood that has lost a son, no matter the conflict, son or daughter, sorry, ladies, son or daughter that has lost a son or a daughter in conflict, any conflict from the American Revolutionary on, please send them out to see us. We would like more flags displayed and make everybody aware that this needs to go forward. In 2018, in early 2018, Honor and Remember is going to do a run for the fallen across the United States, from California to Arlington National. Be prepared to see it. It will come.
And this is pretty timely because on May 17th, we're going to have a group coming over, Phil Good and Beth, who have been working on upgrading the plaque at the county courthouse in Prescott.
Yes.
And Jonam Russell will be getting his name on it, along with our city clerk, Mary Ann, and they have been working very diligently on trying to get every name of someone who has passed away in the Verde Valley that has not been recognized on that plaque, and they've been really working hard. I appreciate that, Mary Ann, because she and I both know it needs to be perfect, and we're working toward that. But there may be, I don't know if Jonam Russell's family, Lieutenant Russell's family, have gotten one of these flags, but I certainly would like to put their name in if they have not.
On the bottom website. On the bottom of your page, there's a website. It's called honorandremember.org. And the family, and it has to be the family
Mhm.
that puts in for this.
Okay, I'll make sure they get that information. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay. Thank you for being here tonight.
And thank you for the proclamation.
You're welcome. It's the council's honor to do that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
The next proclamation is the first week in May is ELKS National Youth Week. And do we have anyone here tonight to pick that up? Okay. Did you want to say a few words and introduce
Sure.
yourself to the public?
Absolutely. And this will just take a second.
Okay.
Good evening. My name is Tom DeSisto. I'm the president of the local Jerome Elks Lodge here in Clarkdale. Along with this week, our focus is giving to the community. A sampling of some of our projects include clothing homeless vets, clothe a child. With that, we have a budget of over $2,500 available to clothe any needy child. The dictionary project provides over 800 dictionaries to third grade students that allows them to go from learning to read to learning how to look up and educate themselves and identify information. Our scholarship program, which is actually the ELKS largest, awards $4,500 a year to high school seniors. It doesn't have to be one, as many as want to apply in the Verde Valley. The only requirement is that they apply, and they're a U.S. citizen. The foundation, interestingly enough, for the ELKS, annually awards more than $2.96 million a year in scholarships to high school seniors across the country. Finally, this week has been set aside as ELKS National Youth Week with an emphasis this year on drug awareness. This is very important. This year we've decided to take on encouraging our youth to make smart and healthy decisions. Along with that, they need to make good lifestyle choices, and sometimes it's not easy for them to do as they're growing. So this year we've taken it upon ourselves to help with that. We have a committee that will be awarding pins for students that have committed to actually stay drug-free. So we're very excited about it. And finally, this Thursday evening at the lodge is awards night. We'll be issuing scholarship awards, the drug awareness awards, dictionary awards, and everything that goes along with it. So we also have hoop shoe contests. So there are many things that we're doing for our youth. So thank you, Madam Mayor and City Council, for the time and for the effort and the award and proclamation.
Okay, thank you very
Thank you.
much. So the proclamation reads, whereas the Benevolent and Protective Order of ELKS has designated May 1st through 7th as Youth Week to honor America's junior citizens for their accomplishments and to give fitting recognition of their services to the community, state, and nation. And whereas Jerome Lodge 1361 will sponsor an observance during that week in tribute to the junior citizens of this community. And whereas no event could be more deserving of our support and participation than one dedicated to these young people who represent the nation's greatest resource and who, in the years ahead, will assume the responsibility for the advancement of our free society. And whereas our youth need guidance, inspiration, and encouragement, which we alone can give in order to help develop those qualities of character essential for future leadership and go forth to serve America. And whereas to achieve this worthy objective, we should demonstrate our partnership with youth, our understanding of their hopes and aspirations, and sincere willingness to help prepare them in every way for the responsibilities and opportunities of citizenship. Now therefore, I, Diane Jones, Mayor of the City of Cottonwood, hereby proclaim the first week in May as Youth Week and urge all departments of government, civic, fraternal, and patriotic groups, and our citizens generally, to participate wholeheartedly in its observance. And I can't think of anyone more deserving to present this presentation to you than Yahtzee. So if the 4 Yahtzee members in front will come up to present this presentation to Mr. Busilo. Because this is exactly what he's talking about and what the ELKS are talking about, so. President Clemens? You're president. He's wrong, sorry about that. So if you want to turn around there and. Thank you. You're welcome. Thanks for all you do.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. The next item is proclaiming May 2016 as Motorcycle Safety Awareness Month. If you,
I was the only one that made it inside.
hello Debbie.
Hi, how are you, Diane?
And my computer shut down before it saved my notes of all who are here tonight to accept the proclamation, so I'll let you introduce everyone.
I have my husband, Terry Stretch Payne, Lizzie, and I guess Lauren isn't coming inside.
Is Lauren coming in?
I had Lizzie and
Tell
Lauren
him,
tickets,
tell him
but
to come,
apparently he-
tell him to go ahead and come in. Do we have to send 4 out to get him in?
The one Lauren, we'll send Stretch after him.
All right. Did you want to share a little bit of information about your club?
Sure. MMA is Modified Motorcycle Association of the Verde Valley District. And Diane, I know you know a lot about us because you were on a run with us just a couple weeks ago, and we really, really appreciate your support.
I'm not on a motorcycle. I'm
We're
in
gonna
a
get
in a
you on
truck.
one of these days.
I
so.
know. If I were rich, I would have a trike.
I
Believe
have
me.
Pam Van Winkle on a motorcycle. I can get you on one. We are about motorcycle safety and awareness. The signs that are up here in Cottonwood that say "Look twice for motorcycles," those are MMA signs. Thanks to the help of Diane, getting us to get them around the city. We have 2 now up in Jerome that we're very proud of because it took a mountain to get those up there. And now we're working on Sedona and Clark. We have 1 in Clarkdale, thanks to Carrie at 1012. But we go into high schools and we teach these new drivers here to look twice for us when we're on motorcycles, to, really pay attention. Right. And 2 weekends, we have our annual gesture run, which is for lost brothers and sisters that we've lost, who have been killed on motorcycles. Luckily, this year, we only have 8 names, and we're thrilled. Last year, we had over 15. And so we bring hundreds of riders in on May 14th to our district. We're also huge supporters of Thunder Valley Rally and our sponsor this year, which we're very proud of. So May is Motorcycle Safety and Awareness Month, and Governor Ducey proclaimed it for the entire state of Arizona.
Fantastic.
And we appreciate you supporting us these last, I think, 4 or 5 years.
Mm-hmm. That's great when the governor supports a proclamation.
And Channel 3 will be up here, like you said, on Friday, and MMA will be out in full force along with the American Legion riders. At 8 o'clock, they're going to be featuring Thunder Valley Rally, so we'll have that entire old town full of motorcycles. We'll be there out in full force.
great. And I do want to give credit where credit is due. It's really the city manager that made the arrangements to put up the signs, and
Oh,
so
thank you, Doug.
I would like to just, he is a motorcycle rider himself and has been very supportive of the motorcycle community, so I want to be sure that everybody knows that he found places to put those signs, so.
Thank you, we really appreciate it.
Okay, so we'll read the proclamation. Motorcycle Safety Awareness Month. Whereas motorcycle riding is a popular form of transportation from daily commutes to recreation for the residents of Cottonwood, Verde Valley, and Arizona, and whereas the safe operation of a motorcycle requires the use of special skills developed through a combination of training and experience, the use of good judgment, and thorough knowledge of traffic laws. And whereas it is especially important that the residents of Cottonwood be aware of motorcycles on the streets and highways and recognize the importance of motorcycle safety and the importance of sharing the roadway, and to honor the many contributions motorcyclists make to our community. And whereas all residents are being encouraged to safely share the roadways throughout the Verde Valley, and to always look twice for motorcycles. Now therefore, I, Diane Jones, Mayor of the City of Cottonwood, do hereby proclaim May 2016 as Motorcycle Safety Awareness Month in the City of Cottonwood, and encourage all residents and visitors to join in this observance. So if you'd like to all come up to accept the proclamation. And I'd ask the city manager to please come up also, because he's been key in promoting motorcycle safety on behalf of the city council.
I did come on, somebody volunteered.
Yes. Oh, that's wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, that's fantastic. Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you. You're welcome. Thanks for all you do for the community, always raising money for charity. Yes. All right, keep it up. Great.
Thank you.
Okay, the next item is call to the public. This portion of the agenda is set aside for the public to address the council regarding an item that is not listed on the agenda for discussion. However, the council cannot engage in discussion regarding any item that is not officially listed on the agenda for discussion and/or action. Per Arizona Revised Statutes 38-431-02H, comments are limited to a 5-minute time period. And these were all nice and neat when I got here, and now they're not. So, call to the public. This is not one. Okay. 21. Okay, so we have Lawrence Minch. Mr. Minch?
Thank you. Madam Mayor and council members, during the past 9 years and through 3 different city attorneys, I've argued for fairness and parity for the airside land leaseholders at the airport. I thought parity had finally been achieved in late 2007 when Mr. Kirby's motion was unanimously approved. It would have happened if city attorney had followed the council's unanimous directive. The lease extension he submitted did not mirror Mr. Green's lease. And by his own words, the city attorney stated, quote, "It is different from an initial lease agreement, which is a binding legal relationship." Further, he stated, quote, "At the end of the lease in 2029, the council of that time will determine if it wishes to grant Mr. Minch or the trust a 15-year extension to his lease." What wording could be more opposite to the resolution that was unanimously passed after Mr. Kirby's motion? This lease renewal debacle and stonewalling grew out of a controversy surrounding the original airport commission, where city attorney substituted his own rules to replace those actually called out in Ordinance 505. Then City Council accepted those questionable rules and continued right on, business as usual. In response, I wrote a letter to Madam Mayor, Councilpersons Pfeiffer, Alinsky, Chapman, Kirby, Norman, and Pratt, and pointed out this violation of those rules. I got no response from any one of them, none, zero, except later on I heard from Mr. Alinsky and Mr. Pratt. It's time for action. Stand up and either make a ruling for or against the hangar owners so we'll all know where we stand. The revision of one sentence in our leases has grown to be an issue that needs airing in public. Enough of the verbal statements that, quote, we're going to take your building, unquote, period. You, council, recently held 2 closed meetings in executive session discussing hangar leases in the total absence of hangar owners and the airport commission people. There seems to be a trend among your advisors that any opposing reasoning must be worthless. If it's city's intention to confiscate our hangar buildings, then do it in an open forum, not in a divide and conquer meeting between 1 or 2 city staff and one of the hangar owners. I have read articles about city operating with transparency. It's time to place on the May 17th council agenda the issue of airport leases so that the voting public and all parties involved can be part of the discussion process and gain an understanding of the true intentions of those currently in office and those running for office. I'm now standing here waiting for any 2 council persons to make and second a motion to place this item on the May 17th council agenda to properly hear these issues without any bias previously demonstrated by staff-only meetings. The open meeting law does allow you to put the item on the May 17th agenda in response to call to the public. I understand that 2 council persons can actually get that item on the agenda. Which of you 2 will make that happen?
Mr. Horton, do you have any legal advice on this item?
Madam Mayor, typically legal advice is given so that the council can make an informed decision about waiving the privilege, but I'll go ahead and let council know, since we've discussed a lot of this in public already. What Mr. Minch is requesting would amount to...
Excuse me, I thought we weren't supposed to discuss it. Are 1 or 2 of the council members going to make this on the agenda?
Just a moment, please let him finish. Thank you.
Madam Mayor, the reason this is such a difficult issue is it involves whether or not we are able to comply with the state constitution, because what Mr. Minch is requesting would be tantamount to, could be tantamount to a gift of public funds in the hundreds of thousands of dollars. And that's why staff has been struggling with this.
Excuse me again, that's a discussion. We need to discuss it in a public forum where I can answer that and we can show our side of what's going on. This is the way it always goes. We get locked out. These are not my comments here. My comments are, who of the 2 of you can put this on the May 17th agenda?
I'll comment on that.
Because I don't.
Well,
I guess that's the
Wait.
question.
At the end of the call to the public, the council can direct staff to look into the matter, can direct that it be put on a future agenda, and can respond to criticism at the end of call to the public.
So am I not allowed? Do we need to wait for the floor to be
I-
closed, or?
I think by practice, what the council has historically done, and I don't think there's a legal problem with it, is respond after the particular comment.
Okay.
But I was telling you what the statute provides.
Okay. Well, I'll just say it's certainly not a dead issue for me, and I think we have directed staff to look into it. I would agree it's not going at a breakneck speed at all, but we're looking into it. And it is it is a complex
years.
issue. I understand.
Madam Clerk, here are my comments, if they're in the minutes properly.
Thank you very much for your comments. We appreciate them. Okay, Mr. Dagno?
Ladies and gentlemen, council members, my name is Roger Daigneault, and I'm here tonight to ask, where do we go? How can we, the payees of Yavapai County and Cottonwood, continue to pay for runaway costs that not only for our 300 and city employees, but to include the city's top tier of overpaid administrators in a city of 11,500 residents who pay top pay and benefits and wages for all of our city employees, to include firemen and policemen, and yes, we want all of our city employees to have fair wages and fair benefits. Most of the taxpayers can't afford their own insurance or pay for the continued water rate increases every year, or the sewer rate increases every year, or let alone pay for more taxes put on food. This has got to go. We need a better voice in stopping the high cost of doing business in Cottonwood, the promised land. So where do we go? Let's start by reducing our overhead. Let's cut back to bare essentials. Let's bring in some work for the future, like industrial, manufacturing, and have support and training and schooling too. We need to provide a workforce that can work, be available, and pass a drug test. And that has a lot to do with our minimum wages. The young men and women of today need a chance so they can get ahead. Let's be a city that turns our disadvantages into a huge plus for all. Yes, we have plenty to do, but we see companies getting money to relocate all the time. And for what? Cheaper wages and benefits. Arizona is one of the poorest states in the country, so let's start with a new outlook on how to recruit business. Let's get those businesses. Let's get some foreign companies in here, and let's make it a good community for all. Let's raise the attitude of Cottonwood so high that we can all see it first thing in the morning. If we all work at this, we can do it. We have the ability to all enjoy a better life, a better future, and prosper. So let's start with all the chips on the table, all the expenses on the table, the employees of Cottonwood on the table, and turn back in all the cars, trucks, and excessive perks, and take a hard look at all the wages and packages. Yes, we need a mayor that can say no to extravagance and taxes. We can do this just by electing new officials with the same needs and values. Remember, we can spend every single penny, but we have nothing to depend on but our revenues. So let's get our bang for our buck. So don't forget to include all of Cottonwood and the outside areas for ideas, because what's good for you should be good for me. Stop and think how we don't represent, or you don't represent all the people and continue to use your backdoor ways. Or call an emergency meeting so it's nice and handy. If you want to be the longest running council person, then please leave. Or if you're a good old boy, please step down and be part of this community or leave. We are all one. So do something for your community, even if no one sees you do it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dagno. We do appreciate your
Madam Mayor?
comments. Yes?
I'd like to correct something that I've heard a couple times.
Okay, please.
We don't have 350 employees. We have 209 full-time employees. We have a list of part-time employees that includes umpires, lifeguards, just a list of people who work sometimes and don't work most of the time. 209 full-time employees, not 350.
I stand corrected.
Thank you. Okay,
I don't
thank
have
you.
a problem, but
Thank you. Thank you.
volunteers shouldn't have to be paid.
Thank you. We appreciate your comments very much. Okay, the next item is comments regarding items listed on the agenda are limited to a 5-minute time period per speaker. We have unfinished business.
We gotta,
The council can respond to comments made during call to the public at the
If there,
conclusion of call to the public.
I would be more than happy to put the airport owners on the agenda.
I'll tag along with you.
okay, so on the 17th, please put that on the agenda.
And Madam Mayor, as Mr. Horton indicated, the council gave staff some research to do on this, and we're still working up the report on that, and we'll make every effort to have that done for that council
And
meeting.
we have to realize that when we do something, we do have staff that have to get information. We've directed them to get it. They're working on it. If you two want to have the discussion before that information is available, that's fine.
I think it's important that we give the owners of the facilities up there
Yeah, a chance to
interact with
speak.
us, just to get us both on the same page, because they're having meetings, we're having meetings, and we're not having meetings together. So I think it'd be good to clear the air and get us both on the same page. So
I agree.
that's the only reason I'm asking for it.
Okay, so
I realize
just
that.
be as ready as you can, and if you don't have all the information, at least it can be
It's
a listening session.
Yes, absolutely.
All right,
I
thank
might
you.
encourage the airport commissioners too to at least attend the event. It doesn't need to be a joint meeting necessarily, but it'd be nice so that we're all on the same page. We're all
Good point.
And this item is on their agenda, I believe, Wednesday night.
So how does the council participate in something like that, if we need to?
The council's welcome to attend the commission meeting.
I don't
However,
think our
again,
city attorney's not
If-
in
if
agreement
there's
with
more
that
than
always.
3 or 4 of
The
you.
council is going
Yeah.
to be there, and certainly if the council
Just
can
post
speak-
it,
Yeah.
so we can speak if you post it?
I think if you have an advisory body, then council members would be attending as individuals. You certainly have the prerogative to speak as individuals, but if you know this is coming before you, the better practice would probably be, if you want to attend and listen to the proceedings, it will come to you. Because the
One thing
commission
is,
will
we
make a decision.
really need to get the word out to the public, because what we're going to be discussing are public funds, and the public has an interest in what happens with airport leases. And sometimes if you are creating a longer airport lease, does that benefit your members of the public? We have 11,400 citizens that should have some say in this issue. And will they be represented?
That's why we're having it in public.
And again, I think that discussion with the commission will be somewhat limited, again, because the research has not been put all together yet. It'll be more of an update.
Thank you. Okay, ordinance number 620, amending Title IX, Public Peace, Morals, and Welfare of the Municipal Code by adding a new chapter 9.12.040, prohibiting the possession, use, and/or sale of tobacco products, alternate nicotine products, or vapor products by or to persons under the age of 21, and this would be the second and final reading if council wishes to vote on it tonight. So we have apparently something that the council started working on that was brought to us by the youth of our community. They brought it here. They were concerned. Our young people brought this to us. It has turned out to be a rather controversial item on the agenda. And there are a lot of different ideas. The council members, I'm sure, have been getting different pros and cons from members of the community in their email boxes, and I have been forwarding all of mine to the city clerk for the public record, and I hope that other council members have also been doing that, so that we have a complete public record of everyone's thoughts on this matter. I would remind the adults in the audience that we are in the presence of our youth in the community, and I would expect appropriate respect for them, even if you don't agree with their position, and respect that they care enough about something that they would actually spend their time and bring it to a city council, and this is democracy in action. So I just ask the youth also to be respectful of everyone. We can be very passionate about issues. I would also ask that, since I know it's a hot button issue, and I do this for every hot button issue, I ask for no clapping. If you clap, you might interfere with a person who might not be quite as brave as you are to come up and speak to the public. You could influence that person on whether they would come up and share their feelings, so that is why I ask for that. I also remind everyone about the 3 R's: respect for self, respect for others, and responsible for all your own behavior. So with that, I would go ahead, and we have discussed this item a couple of times, I think. Twice. We have,
Right,
and it's always been posted if you watch city agendas, and you should always do that. You should look every week and see what's going on in your community. You wouldn't have known that we were discussing this item. So I would like for staff, and I guess this is the city attorney has been working on this, if you would go ahead, for the benefit of those who have not been to a meeting or maybe didn't catch it on TV either, if you would just pretty much give the presentation like you have the past couple of times. We don't usually do this because usually it's something we've discussed a lot, and if there's no public to comment on it, we just go ahead and we don't do the presentation every time again. But if you would please explain to the public and those in the television public what this is all about.
I'd be happy to, Madam Mayor and Council. Earlier in the year, in January, members of the Yavapai Anti-Tobacco Coalition of Youth, YATSE, approached the council and asked that you consider adopting an ordinance for the city that would raise from 18 to 21 the age at which people within the city could buy, purchase, use, or be sold tobacco products, alternative nicotine products, or vapor products. At that point, as is the council's prerogative, that occurred during the call to the public, and as is the council's prerogative, you directed staff to prepare a draft ordinance for your consideration. I then reached out to Jen Mayberry, who's the coordinator for YATSE, and she got the kids together, and we met over at Mingus one afternoon, and we'd all done a lot of research before and since, and the ordinance you have before you is modified from a template from an anti-tobacco coalition, and also the product of our discussions. You first read it at the last meeting 2 weeks ago, and this is the time set in the ordinary course of how the council does business for the second reading and consideration and possible adoption. As you said, we've all heard from a lot of different corners, and I think Jen primarily, because we discussed the idea of polling the community in general, the merchant community in particular, about how they would feel about the ordinance. I think Jen and her supervisor went out and talked to some local merchants, even went into Walmart and talked to somebody there. And we didn't, our sense was that there was a good general feeling of support among the community for this. We've since heard from folks, both pro and con, from from representative from a National Retailers Association to two Harvard pediatricians weighing in on all sides of this issue. And as you mentioned, all of that's now part of the public record. And I guess that's the general introduction of the issue. I think Jen and the kids from Yahtzee probably have some things they want to tell you.
Well, and I would ask that Yahtzee, if you are prepared, please give the presentation that we've already heard so that everybody understands where this came from. And from there, we'll go to inviting members of the public to share their thoughts on it also. But we can't really know exactly what has transpired without asking them to represent. So if you would go ahead and come up and give
Can I
your
ask a question
presentation.
first?
Yes.
When would this go into effect if it was passed tonight?
30 days.
30 days, thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. So if you would all introduce yourselves and give your names, please.
Well,
Did everyone get a signed form, Ms. Mabry? Did they have signed forms? Okay, thank you very much.
Well, we didn't come prepared with the exact same presentation that we came with you in January, but we do have a similar presentation. We have the folders for the city council based with letters and facts that we have had in our presentation to date, and there are even some slides in it. And for the public, we have packets with facts that were in our presentation.
Okay.
So my name is Sophia Rocha, and I am the president of Yahtzee. First and foremost, I want to thank you, the mayor, and city council members for taking the time to recognize the importance of Tobacco 21. First, we want to address the argument that some people are making regarding that if you have the right to bear arms and service in the military at the age of 18, why shouldn't you have the right to smoke? Our member, Gunnar Tillmans, the vice president of Yahtzee, is able to clear up some of the confusion.
Sophia said, my name is Gunnar Tillmans. I am the vice president of Yahtzee. We would like to let the council and public know that there are new U.S. defense guidelines as a push to reduce military tobacco use happening right now. Tobacco prices are to be raised on military bases and widening smoke-free zones. Tobacco use costs the military about $1.6 billion annually in lost productivity and healthcare expenses tied to the respiratory problems, cardiovascular diseases, and slower healing, according to the Department of Defense data. That is expected to climb to $19 billion during the next 10 years and result in 175,000 premature deaths. Taken from the Pentagon, aims to curb tobacco use by military. The minimum age of military service does not equal the readiness to enlist in a lifetime of smoking. In fact, veterans who serve to protect our freedom but contracted emphysema from addiction to discounted cigarettes in the military have lost their freedom. Something I'd like to add is ease of access. Cigarettes has led to 33.6% smoking rates among active duty military. Years of studies, including comprehensive study on 9.3 million military benefactors, have revealed lung cancer mortality rates are doubled among veterans. I said it once, and I'll say it again. Veterans who served to protect our freedom but contracted emphysema from addiction to the discounted cigarettes in military have lost their freedom. Now, raising the age to 21 for something or an idea isn't new. I mean, in fact, it's not even uncommon. You can't gamble at a casino until you're 21. You can't get a license to carry a gun permit until you're 21. And you have to be 25 to rent a car, and the crash rates don't drop significantly until then. You can't rent a hotel room in some hotels. And most importantly, you can't buy alcohol. Let's talk about that. A similar strategy was highly successful in addressing the alcohol sales. It says, a national age 21 law for alcohol sales resulted in reduced alcohol consumption among youth, decreasing alcohol dependence, and has led to a dramatic reduction in drunk driving fatalities. At the time, some critics of the policies argued that because 18-year-olds can vote and enlist in the military, they should be allowed to be sold alcohol. Despite these arguments, the increase in the minimum sale age of alcohol beverages have saved tens of thousands of lives of young drivers, their passengers, and others on the road. Now to address the business issue. And before I get into that, I'm going to tell you some facts. Just 2% of tobacco sales help produce 90% of new smokers. Cigarette sales to those under 21 account for 2.12% of sales, but because 90% of smokers start by the age of 21, these are the very sales that help lead to 9 out of every 10 new smokers. This means that the impact on the store owners will be minimal and will only affect a very small percentage of the tobacco sales in the short term. Raising the minimum tobacco sale age to 21 can reduce smoking rates to a single digit. Only 10% of smokers start by the age of 21 or older. If the current smoking rate is about 20%, then by simple math, if someone reaches the age of 21 as a non-smoker, that individual only has a 2% chance of becoming a smoker. Now, to put some more perspective on the business part, you have 20% of people who are smokers in the world. 2% of that 20% are smokers 18 to 21 years old. You multiply 20% by 2%, you get 0.4%. 0.4% of tobacco-related sales would be lost. Put that even into more perspective, considering that if the average tobacco buyer buys the same amount, a store owner would have to make $250,000 to affect the economic profits by $1,000. That means you'd have to make $250,000 in order to affect your sales by $1,000. This strategy is already working. In 2005, Needleham, Massachusetts voted to raise and enforce the minimum tobacco sale age in 21. In 2016, before full enforcement, the town had a youth smoking rate of 13% compared to 15% in the surrounding communities. By 2010, the youth smoking rate in Needleham was down to 6.7%, while the surrounding communities' rate only decreased to 12.4%. The percent decline in youth smoking in Needleham was nearly triple that of its neighbors. Many people who purchase for distribution to minors are between the ages of 18 to 20. Since most students do not reach 21 years of age while still enrolled in high school, well, I hope they don't, increasing the legal age of sale would greatly reduce the number of students who could purchase tobacco products by decreasing the number of eligible buyers in high school. This action will help reduce youth smoking by decreasing the access of students to tobacco products. So basically, if friends know each other and it's easy to make that tobacco purchase for you, but I doubt there's a 21-year-old still enrolled in high school that could give you that tobacco product. Now, I'd like to share a personal story of mine. So, do you recognize this man? I hear he's an incredible man. He was a son, a loving husband, a family man, a father of 9 that was the glue that held the family together, a grandfather and a great-grandfather. He was a fisherman, a carpenter, and an inventor. And most importantly, he served his time in the U.S. Navy. He was a hard worker, never sick a day in his life. He had a contagious laugh, and he was a friend to everyone he met and made you feel welcomed and loved. And most of all, he loved life. Again, does anybody recognize him yet? Don't feel bad. Unfortunately, I didn't get the chance to meet my grandfather either. Let me introduce Paul Edward Tillmans, also known as Red or Tex. He was a fisherman, and they told me You know, if he was alive at the time I was born, they would say he was a keeper. If you were a fisherman, you'd know that, or you'd get that. Who died a year before I was born with lung cancer, though he quit smoking 20 years prior, though the damage was done. I feel cheated not knowing my grandfather without growing up with this amazing man in my life. This is why I support and do everything I can for Tobacco 21. Now I ask you, are you the son, daughter, husband, wife? Are you the one that's not going to be a part of your grandchildren's lives? Miss out on all the life experiences and opportunities to teach and mold them due to bad choices you are making now by lighting up that cigarette? I lost my grandfather, my role model, and my life experiences. But what did we lose? We lost our veteran. Will they hear tales of you, or will they hear tales from you? Thank you.
Hello, Ms. Mayor, City Council. I am Noemi Cervantes, the Secretary of Yahtzee, and I'm here to address the effect smoking has on the brain. Scientific study of the brain is increasingly showing a distinct gap between when we are physiologically mature and neurobiologically mature. In fact, there could be as much as a 47-year difference. During this period, the brain continues to be highly vulnerable, so it's much easier for people to fall into peer pressure and start smoking at a young age. From neuroscience experiments, we know that the frontal lobe, the seat of the human judgment, is not fully wired until age 25. This is why some describe the period from 18 to 25 years as emerging into adulthood. During this critical period, the brain remains especially vulnerable to tobacco addiction. 99% of lifetime smokers started smoking before the age of 26. Tobacco affects the development of the brain and areas of addiction during this vulnerable period. Tobacco industries knew this. And I quote Philip Morris, "Raising the legal minimum age for cigarette purchasers to 21 could gut the key market of young adults." Kids alive in state today who ultimately die from smoking. The number, 1,150,000. Tobacco use is the leading preventable cause of death, killing more than 4,800 people each year. More than 2,800 kids try their first cigarette every day. 700 other kids become regular daily smokers every day. 1/3 will die from smoking-related diseases. Kids under the age of 18 who try cigarettes for the first time each year, 21,600. Additional kids under the age of 18 who become regular daily smokers each year, 5,500. 9 out of 10, or 90%, of lifetime smokers started smoking before the age of 18. As you can see here, we did a survey back earlier this year. We got over 200 surveys done by our community. Majority of people have agreed with us that smoking is harmful and that, it is a big factor in people getting lung cancer, and it's not just other diseases. With Americans in Tobacco 21, there's 25% of people that oppose Tobacco 21. But then there's that 75% that agree with what we're doing. And I have recently heard that 21-year-olds, it doesn't matter if you'll raise the age limit, 21-year-olds will still give cigarettes to young adults. And I have seen firsthand this will not happen. If you were to raise the age limit, it would, of course, help our youth. It would help us all focus on our future. Adults aren't going to be talking to high schoolers. They're going to be focusing on their jobs, their careers, paying off their bills for their home. And so I know a lot of people in my age group that actually get the tobacco from 18-year-olds. And I am actually in support of Tobacco 21 with these people, and I'm just trying to get the community to take this into consideration. I want to be able to have a safe environment for future generation, per se. So why wouldn't you pass Tobacco 21 is my question. We are the generation that will take over, that will be able to make a clean city. So I thank you guys for your time.
Thank you very much.
Once again, I would like to thank you for taking our time, for us taking your time, and I would like to address some of the questions that store owners or business owners have.
And do you want to introduce yourself, please?
I'm Sophia Rocha, and I'm president. I introduced myself at the beginning.
You were at the beginning, yes. So everybody remembers.
Okay. These are facts that have been said when we proposed this ordinance, but I'd like to readdress them. One of the questions that people had, or one of the comments, was that we will go out of business. But when Needham increased the sale age to 21 in 2005, over 10 years ago, not a single convenience store went out of business. Restaurant and bar owners had the same fear when smoking was banned, but this didn't happen. Business went on as usual. There was just less tobacco use in the area. Tobacco sales to 18 to 20-year-olds are only 2% of retail tobacco sales. Gunnar mentioned this earlier, and the numbers are small. It doesn't make any effect, and it would actually increase sales for other convenience stores because CVS and Target has decided to stop selling tobacco products. All the customers that went to CVS or Target are now going to convenience stores. So they're not going to lose the numbers. It's just going to not have any 18 through 20-year-olds. We make our profits, another comment that they had was that we make our profits from the ancillary purchases, which are like milk and bread, that people buy when they come in to buy cigarettes. 98% of tobacco sales and all associated ancillary purchases will be unaffected. People still need their milk and their bread. They'll just go in and they just won't buy cigarettes. They'll use that money for other in-store purchases, and 18 through 20-year-olds will be able to buy a candy bar instead of a cigarette. They can use that money for a college class if they're in college at the age of 18. I'm going into college at the age of 18, so I'll be able to use that money for a textbook or gas money to go to my class. They will just go to other towns and we will lose business, is another argument that people have had. But based on what the research has shown, lower smoking rates are actually better for business. A city or a town that creates fewer smokers will have a higher socioeconomic status, better health status, better jobs, and a better quality of life for all residents. This is something that Cottonwood's already trying to do. We're trying to be a clean city. We're trying to be healthy. But if you lower the amount of tobacco use in the area, a lot more people will be healthy. There'll be less healthcare bills that we'd have to pay and less worries about people having to go to the doctor all the time. Research has shown a minimal retail impact of raising the sale ages to 21. In fact, since 2005, once again, over 10 years ago in Needham, there is no evidence for youth traveling to other towns to purchase tobacco. That each town that goes to 21 increases the likelihood that the surrounding towns will also go to 21. It means if we raise the age, a lot more towns around us are actually going to raise the age to 21. So even if there is the fact that they might lose business because they go to surrounding towns, it's not going to be for long because other towns are probably going to raise it. Small decreases in youth access to retail tobacco are strongly associated with lower tobacco use. The key point is that the youth will quit or use less tobacco, and those who don't smoke are less likely to start. Once again, as Noemi was saying, if you raise the age up to 21, there is a smaller smaller chance that you would even start smoking at all in your lifetime. A lot of people have actually been saying that we want this to go to the state legislature to make it a level playing field. to make it all even for everybody and just change the whole state at the same time. But the banning of tobacco in bars and restaurants was one at the local level before it even went to the state. It started at a small town like Cottonwood. And this is a ploy by the tobacco industry, the fact of wanting to do it all at the state level. When Utah Senator Reid was asked why Tobacco 21 didn't pass at the state level, he explained it to everybody in 3 words: the tobacco lobby. Once again, according to the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, everyone has a right to a standard of living adequate for the health and well-being of himself and his family. People have the right not to be forced to breathe secondhand smoke and the right to be free from addiction. Children have the right not to be targeted by marketing that leads them to addiction and an early death. Tobacco is the only legal consumer product that kills half of its regular users when used exactly as intended by its manufacturer. Given the tobacco epidemic and its damage, it would be irresponsible for the council not to pass this ordinance. We're trying to make this a good town. We're trying to make it as healthy as possible. And once again, I'd like to thank you guys and let you guys know that we stand here on facts and science. We are not the first city in the nation to do this, nor will we be the last. We urge you to do the right thing and to pass this new ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Rocha. Is anyone else going to speak tonight?
Hi, my name is Alyssa Mannion, and I'm going to be speaking for my mother today. This is what she wrote. I'm asking the council today to please raise the tobacco age from 18 to 21. 9 out of 10 tobacco users start smoking before the age of 18 and become addicted. I was 11 years old when I started smoking and became addicted. I was surrounded by parents, grandparents, and other family members who smoked. Everyone smoked and no one educated me or told me that it was bad for you. I figured if my parents and grandparents were doing it, then it was okay. I stopped smoking because I could no longer take walks, hike, and do other outdoor activities. Most importantly, it was hurting my children. My daughter spoke to me about her Yahtzee group, and I wanted to support her endeavors and began the process to quit smoking. This was my 6th attempt, and I have successfully been a non-smoker for a year now after 32 years of smoking. This is why it is so important to increase the sale age to 21. It will help prevent our young people from ever starting to smoke and to reduce the deaths, disease, and healthcare costs caused by tobacco use. This excuse that it will hurt local smoke shops, in my opinion, is untrue. I asked a local CVS employee how it affected their store sales when they removed the tobacco products, and she said that by removing the tobacco products, their sales and number of customers increased. It did not lower. It did not hurt their business. I suggest that the smoke shops find other business alternatives to maintain their profitability. Since I quit smoking, I can breathe, I can enjoy outdoors again, I have more money, and my skin and hair look great. And most of all, I can spend more time with my children instead of going outside smoking. Smoking is just not smoking. It affects and controls all aspects of your life. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all very much. I appreciate your comments. Okay, so we'll move on to the call to the public on this item. So we have Bernice Carver. Is there a Bernice Carver here?
Hi, my name is Bernice Carver. Is that all I say?
Pardon me?
Your address.
Your
address.
Just your town.
Okay, my name is Bernice Carver, and I'm from Flagstaff.
Okay.
And I want to thank you, Honorable Mayor and Council, for considering this ordinance and all the presentations that you've had and the amazing job these kids have done. I lost my mother and father by the time I was 17 to cancer, and my husband survived Vietnam only to come back to be killed by a global tobacco company, and he died the day before my son's 16th birthday of lung cancer, and the VA gave me this flag. at the time that he died, our son, our then 15-year-old son, was addicted, very addicted to tobacco, and my husband had quit like 20 years before. And he ended up working in a place where it was legal to smoke, so he ended up getting lung cancer from secondhand smoke. But my husband was very supportive of ordinances for smoke-free and tobacco-free workplaces. And I know I can feel him here with me today, and I take this flag with me because the tobacco industry tries to wrap themselves in the American flag to be able to market their products and to keep people hooked. And it just makes me so angry that they use and abuse veterans to try to keep their products that kill over 6 million people in the world each year and over 500,000 people in the United States each year, to let them do that. So this reminds me that we need to protect our kids, we need to protect our veterans, we need to help them to come back from wars and come back and be healthy and be able to be employable and not addicted to a substance that will make them less likely to get a job when they come home, and so that they can have a happy life and happy families and not end up like my husband did. And I really want to thank you for doing this.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your comments. Okay, Matt Morales.
Good evening, my name is Matt Morales. I reside in Phoenix, Arizona, and I am the Executive Director of the National Association of Vaping Businesses. I don't represent Big Tobacco, I don't represent Big Pharma. We too are anti-smoking. But we also believe in freedom. And part of that freedom is to be able to make decisions based on being an adult and also have the right facts and everything presented before you. The Tobacco 21 information and the Harvard study that was done that backs it up does nothing to address the innovations of vaping. But the ordinance that you're putting forward includes it. Vaping as though it is the same thing. Although they may look alike, they are completely different. They affect the human body in a much different way. The World Health Organization has been able to prove that vaping has a 60% more likelihood of separating somebody from smoking for the entirety of their life over available pharma or an available smoking cessation, gum, patches that are available widely. So one thing we'd like to ask of the council this evening, Ms. Mayor, Vice Mayor, and council members, is that we take a moment to step back and look at all the data available before we make a decision on such a subject. Data exists that hasn't been presented here yet. The time has not been available that we can speak to you more closely about these issues and separating combustible tobacco away from vaping products, so that you can see that one helps to separate people indefinitely from smoking, and the other one is a path to cancer that we don't want anyone to go to. A chance for stakeholders, a chance for community to sit and speak, to discuss, to go over the data that's available, and to create an ordinance that is more precisely fit to help Cottonwood into the future is something that we would like to see. A vote on this evening is probably inherently going to happen, but we ask that decisions not be made through anecdotal stories, through emotion. We react to emotion as well, but as sitting council members, we ask that you don't. That those that voted you put you in place, ask that you understand the data and everything that encompasses an environmental scan to revenue, to the jobs of people in your area, and to the total impact that it may have upon your city. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We do appreciate your comments. Tim McCabe.
Madam Mayor, council members, first off, I want to commend these young adults, fine young adults, for their presentation. Although I will come up here and stand opposed to what they say, I give them a tremendous amount of credit for what they've done, and they stand behind the cause, and I'm sure these young adults are going to grow into great adults, and they will. But thank you for everything, the time you put in, the passion you put in. I'm proud to just hear you speak. My name is Tim McCabe, and I am part of the Arizona Food Marketing Alliance, and I represent the grocery stores and convenience stores in Arizona. I am not up here to talk about the tobacco industry. I do not represent the tobacco industry. I represent big and small businesses in this town that do sell tobacco. Examples of that are Fry's, Safeway, Food City, and Circle K. Whether it is my fault or our fault, we found out about this 2 weeks ago when the first reading. We did not have a privilege of being part of the draft or stakeholder process. This ordinance was drafted, and to my knowledge, none of the stakeholders here were part of that draft. The other group was part of the draft. But what we feel was very important in this is that there is stakeholder input, like the previous gentleman said. We are strongly opposed to this potential ordinance. We are not opposed, and we agree with several of the things that these young adults have said in regards to tobacco. Tobacco has had a negative impact on a lot of us. Almost everybody has had. My dad had lung cancer. To this day, I have asthma and COPD because I was heavily exposed to secondary smoke as a child. Tobacco is a bad thing, and we as an industry agree with that as well. But one of our major concerns is the negative impact of sales and revenues for our business, and actually what potential tax revenue there is for Cottonwood. Along with this will come confusion of customers on where certain laws are applicable and where the boundaries are. One of the biggest beneficiaries of this could be any retail outlet that is just on the outskirts of Cottonwood. We feel that an ordinance like this, single-minded like this, will do nothing but send tobacco purchases to locations outside of Cottonwood and hurt the businesses, places like Sedona, Clarkdale, Jerome, and Camp Verde. A couple other things that I just want to make to your attention about this is and these are a lot of agreeing what these students say. I'll never admit we're going to go out of business. We're not going to go out of business because this is passed. Is it going to have an impact on our business? Sure it will. The typical supermarket today, like Fry's or Safeway, they run on a 1% margin. And any impact on sales can have a negative impact. We already, in our industry, primarily the convenience stores, we lost a significant amount of tobacco business in our sales about 10 years ago when a law was passed by the state. We are uncompetitive to tobacco shops on tribal lands by about $8 to $9 a carton. Somebody could go there and buy tobacco products significantly cheaper than they can in one of our stores. We do support the restrictions of selling tobacco, especially to minors, but really feel strongly about more education and awareness are better solutions. There are some of the numbers and some of the facts that the students talked about. I do this for a living. I research. I know what tie-in rates are. I can tell you how many 12 packs of Coke somebody will have with a purchase of tobacco, with the purchase of fuel. We do all of this. Some of the information, I've researched a lot of this. As you know, when you get on the internet, it depends on what source you have to talk about other information, Some other specific concerns that we have as well is, probably most importantly is we're not saying this right, wrong, or indifferent at this point. We just want more input. This is a big deal. This is a big issue. We want more input for us as stakeholders in this, as business owners that have been here in Cottonwood for a long time. Like I said, we found out about a couple weeks ago, when we deal with issues like this, and big issues like this, typically there's a fair amount of time that's given to stakeholders before there's a vote made. There are costs associated with this ordinance as well. Costs that we'll have to incur. Such things as we got to retrain all of our employees. There's signage. We've got to change all the signs, along with also having to be the ones that communicate this to customers. We've done this before in other ordinances, in places where they ban plastic bags. Our poor cashier is the one that's how they find out about it, and they just throw their stuff down, walk out the store, and curse at some of the employees. Not a reason not to do it. I'm just saying these are some unforeseen consequences that happen. There will also be additional resources for the taxpayers of Cottonwood to enforce it. And if you don't enforce it, because the way this is written, is this is both a possession, being in possession. So if somebody down the street's walking, they got a cigarette, somebody's got to check it. and also finding out if retailers are selling to underage. If you don't enforce it, then why have a law? So you've got to enforce it, so that does take resources. One of the things we find, we can go on and talk about studies. One of the studies that I found is that when it comes to educating youth on smoking, that one of the things is important, you don't tell them to do it, because then they'll just do something different. You try to educate them and talk to them about the harms of smoking. You do it in a different way. The same reports, I mean, I could go on for days at the internet. Surgeon General that does say 9 out of 10 people have already begun lighting up by the age of 18. The average age of a person that first lit a cigarette is 12 and a half years. If they haven't smoked by 18, 3-to-1 odds are they never will. Smoking rates have continued to drop in both adults and teens in Arizona. You can go on the website of the Arizona Department of Health Services or CDC. They've got some very specific programs to address smoking, especially in youth. One of the things that they say in this, if you tell them they can't buy it, they will find a way to do it. That's why a different way of education is critical. The focus should be on addiction. There's programs such as Venomosity, Stand Arizona, and the Signal with CIN that are state programs for educating youth that we feel very good about. I want to hand to you now, members of the council, is something that I'm not sure if you got. This is a letter that came from you. This is District 6 in the state of Arizona. Representative Brenda Barton and Representative Bob Thorpe that live in these districts. This is a letter, and I'll hand it to each one of you. I'm not sure if you received it because this has kind of come up pretty fast. I just want to see if you've seen it. I apologize if you have. I'm not sure. I know everybody's got a crazy schedule, so we'll,
Yeah, I found it interesting that the small government folks don't want the small government to make the decision. Anyway.
I wanted to share, I just wanted to make sure, in the highlights of the letter, and I won't go through it, but there's several points that they have in the letter, of which you've heard some already tonight, but the main thing I think that what they're saying is hopefully agreeing with what I've been talking about, is the fact is, please allow us a chance to have stakeholder input, to come up with a plan that we think will really have an impact that everybody agrees upon, and will have an impact on reducing young adult smokers, and have a minimal impact on everybody here in the community. We really need to do this right and address the smoking issue with teens. The most important thing is that we do it right, but in a way that does not punish or hurt longtime business and supporters of this community. Specific education and awareness programs focused on teens in this community statewide is the best place to start, and hopefully we can track it and track the results. This is more complicated, obviously, as talked earlier, is we add vapor to this. We need more time. We need to better understand all the facts from every side and find out the best solutions to this. And that's what I'm asking you here tonight is, I'm not disagreeing. I mean, I'm not saying that whether the age should be 18 or 21. I totally respect what these students said tonight. All I'm saying is please give us a fair opportunity as stakeholders to hear us and hear our side of the story. So what I'm asking you is to please not vote on this tonight until we get more input for you to make a very fair decision. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. We appreciate them. Adela Martinez.
Mayor Jones, council members, I'm here to support this change that these young people would like to make. I am a smoker. I started smoking at the age of 18 years old. I was able to stop when I got pregnant, had my babies, for their health choices, but why does my health not matter to continue to stop smoking when they're still here? Why am I not responsible enough to make that change? Because it's an addiction. Tobacco is an addiction. It comes down to money. I have to wonder, do my clothes smell? Do my breath smell? Do my hair smell? And it's hard. It's hard because life gets in the way, no matter how hard we try. I don't know how many people have suffered from one addiction or another. We all have our vices. But I'm 52 years old and I should know better. Tobacco kills so many innocent and those of us who use it. We should change the age from 18 to 21, as this will maybe help them to get past that 18 years. A lot of people that I know that smoke have started around that age. And it seems like once they pass that, then I don't know what it is, something clicks in their brain and they don't want to do it. I don't know. But I've seen a lot of people that have firsthand, it has killed. My stepfather, throat cancer. Seen him with a tracheotomy. Seen him on his deathbed, all from smoking. Yet I still stand today and smoke. Am I proud? Not at all. Not at all. I think that helping them and supporting them, yes, I hear from these groups, the people that sell it, the people that I buy from, it all comes down to their finances and to their money. But it really saddens my heart that money always comes before health, it seems like. And I'm guilty of that when I go and buy a cigarette and light one up and smoke it. Let's give them better living skills, positive ways, healthier lives, better tools for the future, instead of leaving these things out there and setting them up to fail. That's all I have to say.
Thank you very much for your comments. William Murray? Bill Murray?
Yes. Hello, council members, mayor, how are you?
Very well, thank you.
I own Vertically Market down in Main Street, and I was asked to talk about some of the facts of what I think this law would do for my business. Well, as most of you know, food, deli, grill is the biggest percentage of my business. So actually, tobacco sales are probably in the bottom part of my business. So if you want to know whether on the low end of sales on a business is going to affect my sales, chances are it's not going to affect it on a drastic way. But only 8% of my total sales are tobacco, and a very small percentage of that are kids under 21. Okay, that's kind of what the facts are for Vertically Market. Now, there's other places where they sell tobacco in large quantities. I cannot speak for them. And actually being here probably will affect my sales more than the actual law because of the politics. But like I say, I was just asked to see if that would affect my business. Probably not. Bottom line, tobacco is a very, very low money maker. The percentage is very, very low. So with that being said, chances are it's not going to affect or shut me down because all of you guys can still go buy food there. But with that said, the facts of Vertically Market and my political issues are totally different. I'm not going to talk about my political issues. I do have one thing to say though. I was born and raised in Mexico. I became a citizen a few years ago. One of the things that attracted me to this country was the freedom to choose, the freedom to be what I want to be. Okay? Any questions? Nope.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And there's one here for the Yahtzee group, but I think you've already done yours, okay? Allison Mannion.
I already spoke.
Okay. Yep, I have your name down right here. Okay, and Thomas Guys? Thomas Guys?
Hi there. I represent the Preventing Tobacco Addiction Foundation. We're based in Columbus, Ohio, so I venture I've traveled the farthest to be here tonight. Very excited to do so. We run the website tobacco21.org, so you might anticipate what my position on this issue is. You might not anticipate that I am a former smoker myself. I'm not too far removed from these wonderful youth's age, and I know at the time how easy it was for me to convince an 18-year-old, because I started when I was 16, to purchase me cigarettes. There are plenty of 18 and 19-year-olds available in high school to do this for you, and are happy to do so usually. And like most former and current smokers, I regret ever starting. It led to a number of health problems. But rather than speak anecdotally about my own experience, I'd like to tell you more about the nationwide movement of Tobacco 21. We have 5 points really that we try to hammer home about Tobacco 21. 1, it's logical. 2, it's effective. 3, it's popular. 4, and popular amongst your constituents. 4, it's backed by pretty much every national public health organization you can think of, and AMVETS. And 5, it costs comparatively little to other tobacco prevention measures. Now, we're all for other tobacco prevention measures, like educational measures that were mentioned earlier, but this costs a lot less money than that, and tobacco funding is drying up at the state level. To go back to why it's logical, in the state of Arizona, it is age 21 that you can drink, like it is nationally. Casino gambling, age 21. Concealed carry, age 21. Foster a child, age 21. To further on that, I mean, you can first work when you're 14, get a driver's license when you're 16, run for House Congress when you're 25, senator when you're 30, president when you're 35. Our nation has long recognized that we need a graduated approach to responsibility, and all we are changing is one issue in that, from 18 to 21. It's also it's also logical because of the neurological development. Now, they spoke earlier about the development of the prefrontal cortex. Don't need to go into that, but what we do know of emerging science is showing us that tobacco use and early nicotine use leads to a number of psychiatric disorders. Anxiety, depression, schizophrenia, ADHD, and in fact, other addictions are all linked to early nicotine exposure. They say marijuana was the gateway drug, it's nicotine. It's effective, our second point. They spoke about Needham. Needham saw a 50% drop in high school smoking over a 5-year period after introducing Tobacco 21. Now, they were one of the early adopters of this, so luckily we have their data, but other cities in Massachusetts are seeing the same drop. Brookline, in fact, just released data that over a 1-year period, their cigarette rates amongst high schoolers dropped 50% as well. The IOM, the Institute of Medicine, commissioned by the FDA in 2009, started to research this issue of raising the tobacco age. They researched age 19, age 21, and age 25 and came to the resounding conclusion that age 21 was in fact the best age to raise it to, and that if we did this nationwide, it would reduce high school smoking by 25%. They also looked into the black market and found that black market sales of underage cigarettes, or black market sales of cigarettes to underage people account for less than 1% of the black market. So this is not an issue of people going across state lines to get cigarettes when they're 18, 19, and 20. That just doesn't happen. Finally, these results, they reflect what happened when we raised the drinking age. We saw about a 60% drop in frequent drinking amongst high schoolers over about a decade period when we raised the drinking age to 21. 3, it's popular. So we've done several national polls. They have all found that above 70% of the public support this measure. And that's across every demographic you can possibly think of and every geographic area you can think of. We polled in Maricopa County, found over 70% of people support that. I know that they're a different county than this county, but you can see an emerging pattern. 4, the organizational support, and this folds into the popular support. Again, every national public health organization supports this. AMVETS supports this, and there's a federal bill, and I invite you to go to tobacco21.org and see our list of endorsements. Everyone you can possibly think of supports this, and Kansas City, even the Chamber of Commerce supports this. Finally, like I said earlier, it costs comparatively little to other tobacco prevention measures, and in fact, it probably saves your economy money. It actually costs, and there was a study done to show this, on average, $5,800 more a year to employ a smoker. So if you're trying to save your business's money, $5,800 per year for each smoker or less, that's a lot of money. As I said earlier, about 4,300 kids every year in Arizona become smokers. 115,000 alive today will die because of smoking if something is not done. We had a member from, I believe it was CASA, I'm not sure, but an e-cigarette advocate speak here. And as we all know, cigarette rates are dropping, and that's wonderful. But other tobacco product rates are going up. Hookah has gone up over 200% in the last few years. Monitoring the Future, which is a study conducted by the University of Michigan that is a nationwide study, found that if you account for cigarillos with cigarettes, it actually raises the smoking rate by 67%. So we're finding that youth smoking rates right now are somewhere between 12 and 15%, depending on which poll you research. But if you account for cigarillos, that raises it by 67%. So are we really making progress? It's very unclear. Now, with the e-cigarette issue, if somebody quits with e-cigarettes, that's fine. That's great. They are likely more healthy than cigarettes. But we're talking about kids here. Kids are not using these to quit. Monitoring the Future discussed polled kids on why they're using e-cigarettes. Less than 9% are using them to quit. More than 40% were using them because they like the flavors. More than 40% are using them because they thought they were novel or cool. These are not being used to quit by youth. And more to the point, oh, I'm sorry, I lost my place. More to the point, there was 4 longitudinal studies conducted in the last year that found that those kids who use e-cigarettes are more likely to take up cigarettes in the future. So this isn't just about keeping them off e-cigarettes, it's about keeping them off cigarettes in the future. So finally, I'd just like to say that people say this has to happen at the state level. Now, I've seen, I started working on this issue when there was about 12 cities all in Massachusetts. We now have the state of Hawaii. Tomorrow, I guarantee you, the state of California will become our second state to go. It's going through Massachusetts, it's going through New Jersey. Everywhere it has gone, it has started at the local level. It needs to start here. We have about 150 cities nationwide that are doing this, and all of them have seen statewide movement later after they have done it. And also, to address the retailer point, they said that Needham, Massachusetts, not a single retailer went out of business. 150 other cities, guess what? No retailers have gone out of business. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Carla Hover.
Madam Mayor, council members, thank you for listening to all of this. My name is Carla Hover. I am the program manager here in the Verde Valley for Yavapai County Community Health Services. So I oversee all of the health education programs on this side of the mountain. Okay. I've been in the health and education fields in the Verde Valley for 20 years now. 16 of that with the county, doing tobacco control and tobacco education in our schools. We are responsible for the compliance checks and the follow-up education. That means with the Attorney General's office, we partner and we go into the various stores around town and do compliance checks to make sure that they're following the laws. And we've been doing this since 2002. And currently, the Attorney General's office brings a team up. We get volunteer youth. We go into the stores. If the businesses sell tobacco to minors, they can be cited and referred to the municipal courts. The Attorney General's office is working with our local courts to offer education as opposed to fines. So they can go to court. They are referred to education classes that we offer for free. So they're the Attorney General's office actively promotes education and diversion programs as opposed to punishment for any of our retailers. So we offer a free course for all of our merchants. It's about an hour I have to say, last time they came up here, we didn't have any merchants in Cottonwood sell tobacco to minors. Thank you very much. So we did not offer the class the last time, but it's always there. And we are planning, if this goes through, to add a Cottonwood-specific page or two pages, so that as we educate the merchants, we will be telling them Cottonwood information as well, because I have had Camp Verde and Sedona people in my classes. So we can do that. We can also send out letters to all the merchants in the Verde Valley, or in the county actually, but in the Verde Valley for Cottonwood, and let them know the ordinance change. And we would do that. It would not cost the city anything to make sure that everybody in Cottonwood is aware of the changes. As well as our PIO will put out some informational media so that it is made aware, everybody's made aware of it. We can also refer our smokers to the ASH line, which is their free quit line. So when people are 18, 19, they have a much better chance of just quitting right then and there, rather than dragging in as they get older. It would be easier, I heard they're gonna be confused, 18, 21. If alcohol is already 21, it's really easier. It's not additional training for the clerks to say tobacco and alcohol is 21 years of age. It's actually, in my opinion, it would be much easier for them. And we overall see this as a very positive move for our community. And like Tom said, we start small. We start with our community. I would be very proud of our community if we were the first ones in the state to do this. I have Special Agent Brad Russell with me from the Attorney General's office. If I can invite him up, he has some notes on enforcement.
So I'll just add his name to your.
Yes.
Okay.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and City Council. My name is Brad Russell. I'm a special agent with the Attorney General's office. And while my office can't take a stance on your resolution itself, I can speak on the enforcement portion of what this may or may not have an impact either on your community or others. I think it was brought up that it could cost more money to enforce this because we have to pay salaries. I can tell you we have 2 agents at the Attorney General's office that do tobacco enforcement for the state of Arizona, and you're looking at one of them. My partner is part-time, so I do a lot of inspections throughout the entire state. We do roughly 2,000 at least inspections every year. I come to your area just as much as I come to everybody else's area. So the difference is the age of the youth that I use when I go into the establishments. It's really the only difference. My salary is not going to change. My salary is paid by Big Tobacco, by the way. The master settlement agreement that was in 1998 forced the Big Tobacco companies to pay, as most of you probably know, millions and millions of dollars to all the states. There are I believe 46 states are involved. Our state gets about $100 million a year, a little bit more than that. My salary is paid out of that, so I'm not going anywhere. My salary is not going to decrease. We've got plenty of money to do because part of getting that money, we're required to do diligent enforcement. So that's why I'm in the position that I'm in. I can tell you on the enforcement issue, Carla brought up a good point, the ART program, the Arizona Retailer Tobacco Training. We push that on the retailers that sell to our minors now that are under the age of 18. We let them know. We push that pretty hard because it's a super program. It doesn't cost the retailers any money. I'm writing tickets. So I go in there with a kid. A retailer purchases tobacco from a kid purchases tobacco from a retailer. We immediately go inside. We cite the clerk and we cite the business. The clerk is under 133622A and the business is under 305. The business is responsible for any clerks that are acting in the scope of their employment. And so then we ask them to go, we tell them they've got some options: plead guilty, pay a fine, plead not guilty, we all go to trial, or they can ask for a tobacco diversion class. And it's worked wonderfully. I've only been in this position for 2 years. I'm a retired sheriff's deputy up from the state of Washington. And just since the 2 years I've been here, the tobacco buy rate for the state of Arizona was at 18%, which is a lot. And right now it's hovering between 10 and 11% just in the 2 years, and that's because of the art training, the tobacco diversion training. So it's a really good program. I think, as you know, it's got to start somewhere. The laws have to start somewhere, and I hope you guys have a good understanding from everybody so far that has spoke, people that have been here since January. Everybody, I think, has had an opportunity to know about this since January. So those that are finding out late, I'm from Phoenix, and I found out about it. From Ohio, he found out about it. You've had some pretty good discussions. Some of you may or may not know, the kids probably know this more than I do, 1,500 people die every day from tobacco-related illnesses. So Big Tobacco has to replace those 1,500 somehow. And what I find when I go out on my enforcement is that the vaping products, most importantly, are geared, and the cigarillos are geared to our youth. And they've got some stipulations that they're supposed to abide by, and sometimes they skirt those. I don't know an adult that wants to smoke cotton candy flavored vape product or gummy bears, or I can go on and on. So I see behind the scenes what's happening, Big Tobacco. And the young lady that spoke earlier made a good point about money is what's driving some of this. And it's unfortunate that I can tell there's people that care about the youth and the next generation, and there's people that care about their pockets. And I know you have a tough decision, but I think that's what it's kind of looking like people are feeling, both directions. I'm willing to answer any type of enforcement question that you may have while I'm up here, but I really wanted to talk about the enforcement portion of it.
Does anybody have a question about enforcement? Okay. Well, can you stay a little while longer till
Sure.
the conversation is completed in case there is a question
Absolutely.
before we're finished? Okay, thank you.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
also our police chief is available tonight if you have any questions about.
Where is he?
He's in the back.
Oh, okay. Oh, he is.
If you have any questions about enforcement.
Okay, well, we'll conclude then. If you would, Chief Giselle, if you would come out and speak after the next speaker, who is Rob Harrison. It's a long night. We do this every week, so we know.
Good evening, Mayor Jones and council members. Thank you for letting me speak tonight. I'd also like to start out by thanking the students of Yahtzee for getting involved in their community and caring and for their initiative. I do not like smoking. I sell tobacco. I don't smoke. My heart goes out to those who lost people from smoking. I lost my father recently. He died from smoking complications. My concerns are what's going to happen to businesses in Cottonwood and taxes in Cottonwood. I got some statistics from CDC. I did some research myself. I saw the articles in the paper on Sunday, and the numbers didn't make any sense to me. I'm in the business, so I did some research. And I found out that in Arizona, there's 19% of Arizona residents are smokers. Of that 19%, 21.4 are in the age group of 18 to 24. I could not find any statistics of 18 to 21 really. So if you take that 18 to 24, and the best I could do was split it in half and figure that ended up being tobacco users 18 to 24, 20.4% of the business, and smokeless is 4.5%. And vape is 5.1% of the business. So now you're looking at 30%. So I'm not sure where that 2% comes from, what numbers that is. The only place I can find on the web is the tobacco 21, 32% estimate. For my business, that represents quite a bit of money. I figured, okay, that's 30%, so if you take half of those smokers between 18 and 21, and then the ones from 20 to 24, you bust it in half, you're at 15%. That may be off by a couple of points. It's really hard to get a number on it right now, especially when you're talking about just local statistics, which we don't have. My store, if I lost 15% of my tobacco sales, that impacts my store by $100,000 in 1 year. You take that times 14 other retail outlets, and there may be some that have more sales, I'm sure there are, I'm not the biggest fish in town. Okay, there's other people that are much smaller than me. But if you do the average for 14 stores, that's $1.5 million of sales in the city. You do the sales tax numbers, you're gonna lose roughly $50,000 annually in sales revenue. So I don't know what your bank account's like, but if you can afford to do that, then I just wanted you guys to know the numbers that I found. And I agree with the measure, but at a larger scale. If you do it in Cottonwood, Cottonwood's a unique community. We have 11,000 residents in the city, but we have another 10 or 11, 12, I don't know what the Verde Village numbers and the Bridgeport numbers are, outside the city. We have 2 tobacco retailers that you can throw a rock at from the city limits. So how is driving 2 miles down the road not going to be going out of the town to buy tobacco? We have one in Bridgeport, we have one in Verde Village. They're not in the city limits. They're not going to be subject to this ordinance. We're surrounded by tobacco shops on the reservations. Huge numbers of our citizens go there. They already enjoy a tax advantage by not having to pay taxes. Now they're going to have an advantage by being able to sell to 18 or 21 group. So I really don't have a problem with the idea. I commend the idea, but it just has to be thought out more because I think it's not enough information. And if we did it on a larger scale, statewide, it would not punish businesses within the city. And the other piece of it is if I lose this kind of revenue, they say, well, it doesn't impact businesses. I'm not going to go out of business, but I'm going to have to cut hours. I may have to lay somebody off. Nobody's talked about that piece of this either. Okay, so now we got more people on the unemployment. So that's really all I have to say. Some other talking points were spoke earlier, but thank you for your time.
Thank you. We very much appreciate your comments. Anybody else want to speak on this issue?
I haven't heard anybody mention anything about just free market choice and what this country was founded on, which is freedom. And I appreciate all you kids being here today. I think it's great that you're getting involved in the political process, but I think you're getting railroaded, okay? You look back into the past history, I'm sure y'all maybe read Romeo and Juliet. Remember how old they were? They're 16. They can get married at 16. There's still plenty of states where you can get married at 16 or 14. The problem is not we need a law. The problem is people have to teach their children right from wrong. They have to have the choice to decide for themselves what's right from wrong. They don't need you to make a new law to tell them what's right and what's wrong. That's their parents' job. It's not yours. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Chief Gazelle?
You're going to get it right one of these days, Mayor. It's okay.
Good.
It's okay.
Yeah, go, go, go.
Okay. How can I help you?
Well, the city manager suggested that you might have a comment about this ordinance.
Just in terms of enforcement and how the police department would handle this.
Sure, and I think at first blush, I mean, whenever we're talking about a new initiative or a new piece of legislation or law, I mean, a police department certainly takes community sentiment, community values. We consider that very, very seriously in planning any type of enforcement activity. And really, the key in our world goes far beyond enforcement. It's kind of balancing that educational component with with enforcement. And this one, to me, at first blush, would seemingly be analogous to some of the enforcement philosophy we would have with alcohol retailers and enforcing the sale of alcohol to underage minors. And as you may or may not know, the current state statute dictates that we have to only focus on retailers where there's reasonable suspicion or there's been complaints that, complaint-driven, essentially. So I would think that we would kind of, at least initially, focus on that philosophy where education would be the preference, enforcement would be used very, very sparingly. If that
Thank
helps.
you. Yes, ma'am.
One of the students back here has signed up to speak also.
Oh, yes. Okay, so thank you, Chief Gazelle. Practice makes perfect, right?
I'm still working on it.
Jones is easy, right?
Not the spelling.
That's true. Okay, so the name I'm looking for? Well, you certainly may come up and speak. We just may have to write your, oh, Erica Fisher. Got it. Sorry, I skipped one. Yes, please, Erica. Thank you for signing the form.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and City Council members. My name is Erica Fisher, and I am the president of SWAT, which stands for Students Working Against Tobacco of Lake Havasu City. Also, I have members of the Kingman Youth Coalition, Beating Up Teen Tobacco. We are here to support Yahtzee in their pursuit of Tobacco 21. A young person's brain is not fully developed until they are in their mid-20s. So by raising the legal age to purchase tobacco to 21, we will help prevent lifelong nicotine addiction. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Does anyone else want to speak from the organization? And I'm sorry I skipped you. That was very unintentional. Mr. Tillmans?
Hi. I would like to address the issue. I'm just going to set this back. I'd like to address the issue of the Bob Thorpe letter. I'd like to answer some questions that may occur while reading through it. To start out, this meeting was publicly announced, as was the last one. We appeared on public access television months ago to discuss this policy. There has been ample time to state the opinions, as this letter shows, to act as though there hasn't been discussion as previous. On page 2 of 3, if an individual at the age of 18 is eligible to vote and serve in the military, we've discussed that issue, but there is a laundry list of things you can't do at 18, running for federal office, buy guns, rent cars, etc. Furthermore, the city government is more than within their rights to make this decision. They are elected to look after the health and well-being of Cottonwood, which includes its children, and its measures will save lives. Question 2 on this paper, or proposal. This is untrue. There is a 300-page report from the Institute of Medicine summarizing the evidence on what raising the minimum legal sale age of tobacco 21 would do, and the evidence suggests that there would be a significant effect to the policy. Furthermore, Needham, Massachusetts did this policy and saw their high school smoking rates reduced by 50%. This policy works to say. And then for the third, unlike other public health issues such as vaccination, the enemy of tobacco big tobacco, fights back. There are many ways that big tobacco continues to addict children despite all the education, taxes, and other tobacco control measures. One of the most effective ways we can continue to fight big tobacco is to pass Tobacco 21. Also, the CDC recently released data showing that 24.6% high schooler students in America regularly use tobacco. I think we can all agree that number is too high. Number 4, This is completely incorrect. Needham, Massachusetts had no possession laws and still reduced smoking among high school students by 50%. A common myth propagated by the tobacco industry is possession or use penalized or effective, which there is little evidence to support that. The research shows that effective tobacco control happens at the point of sale, not by targeting addicted children. Furthermore, California is likely to put Tobacco 21 into law tomorrow, and 16 states had Tobacco 21 regulated legislation this year. And last one. I'm not sure what to say on this. My agree with these points. All right, so however, what you might say is that there are little enforcement or possessions on the use of this law because they are largely unenforceable, which is why the point of sale regulations like Tobacco 21 are so critical. I just wanted, if anybody has any questions, and I just wanted to clear that up.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments. Okay, yes.
I have an opportunity.
Certainly.
Like I had mentioned earlier, I do not represent the tobacco industry. We represent many of the big retailers in this community. I'm not sure who you talk to at Walmart, but I can assure you you might have talked to an assistant manager or produce manager some, but that's not the position. The couple of questions is, it was been brought up that shame on us that we didn't know, we didn't monitor. But I will tell you, in many other communities that we as retailers work, we are invited to a stakeholder process. We don't have to monitor the minutes of a meeting to be asked in hope that we don't show up to a meeting. We are asked to be part of the process, just like these students were asked to be part of the process and develop the ordinance. To my knowledge, no stakeholder was asked to do that. This was done in a vacuum. All I'm asking is, all we're asking tonight, I think you've heard from some other folks, is that give us the opportunity to do that. And if it happens, it happens. That's all we're asking. The other question I would ask of the chief is, based upon what the ordinance is written, and also the Attorney General's office is, it sounds like the enforcement of this is focused like it is now on underage selling. You go in and you do a sting, and we heard some good results recently, or fortunately. How will this be enforced if there's also a possession issue? In other words, the way I read the ordinance is if you're under 21 in possession, you're involved. So that's different. Now all of a sudden, it's a possession issue. How are you going to enforce that? That's all. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your questions. So at this point, we'll just ask the council for discussion among us. Mr. Pratt?
Yeah, obviously I support this, and I like what the kids are doing. But I do understand the other part of the argument too about having a more public discussion with the stakeholders. I kind of don't want to rush into something, and I certainly understand your concerns that you weren't reached out to. I would almost be tempted to want to table this tonight.
Mr. Dowling?
I guess maybe to address the question that was happening just a second ago, but to our chief, do we have any idea about some of the, like, you know, in the Thorpe and Barton note here, they say that now, you know, are we going to be running around looking for youth with tins of tobacco or cigarettes in their car, or if we have, you know, they're trying to say that if we have tourists driving through, we're going to be pulling tourists over looking to find them for having products. But I don't imagine that you guys are going to be on the hunt for tobacco using youth, other than if you happen to come by them, this will be in your quiver to use in that position. How do you see the enforcement part of this taking place?
I think your viewpoint is absolutely on target. I think the citizens would expect that their police force utilize their resources to our ability to focus those resources on community problems which far exceed the scope and scale of what we're talking about here. So when a police officer encounters anyone that's has committed a misdemeanor or a petty offense, which would certainly include something like possession of tobacco. That officer has discretion on what, that's the way our justice system is set up, is where that officer has discretion in the action that they're going to take. Sometimes that action could mean a citation, sometimes that action could be a warning, sometimes that action could be a warning coupled with contact with the parents. It could be any number, but there's no, I don't have any premonition of any heavy-handed tactics if this were to be passed.
So we won't be driving the MRAP around looking for people?
No, not in this lifetime or the next.
All right. I just wanted to get a kind of a better grasp of that, because that's one of the questions they're coming up with. So, I certainly see the part of the stakeholders in this. It's difficult a bit because it does end up. I have to ask the stakeholders in this, if we come to the table and say, oh, let's be involved in this, would there be anything on the other side of that would, I'm interested in engaging with you on that, but is there anything that they're going to say that is going to sway your opinion in any measurable fashion into going over that? Like, could we go to 20? I mean, I'm being facetious and a little bit fanciful, but are we going to have a middle ground? Because I appreciate that you want to be involved, but I really would question what the outcome of that will be. Whether it is simply to prolong our decision to go with it, or if we're actually going to find some magical middle ground. And my hopes for that aren't real strong. Do you have any idea? I guess my question is, can you tell the future a little bit? If we engage stakeholders on this, are we going to reach a middle ground? Is there even a reason to have that debate, or is your position pretty much going to stay the way it is? I know that I can't ask you to tell the future, but that when I'm evaluating this internally using my logic and reason, I kind of see two opposite sides of the coin that I don't know. No matter how many times you flip that coin, it's going to land heads or tails. It's not going to land both. So, we've got concerned citizens and youth, the people that are here, that live here all the time, every day, coming to us asking for help with their problem. Or we've got, marketing consultants and agencies from outside locations. So I would appreciate any input that you guys might have, but I don't know how far it will really go, or if it will really lead to anything as productive as this process if we were to just approve this. Because we could take 6 more months, but how many people are going to get addicted in 6 months? How many kids are going to get their first cigarette they wouldn't have gotten had we approved it? So, I understand it's very complicated and a grand issue. It's easy to create a grand issue out of it, or to make it simple. Because, we've got state legislators now contacting us, asking us to defer to them. And I just find that's really interesting, because a lot of the rhetoric I get from state level things is they're more than happy to tell the federal government to take a hike and don't mess with us because we're local and we're the state. And to have somebody that has that point of view with the federal government in relation to them, then sending us messages saying, well, you should let us take the lead, it's sort of hypocritically rich, I guess. And I just have some concerns about that. So, I am concerned that we're going to put off the health and well-being of our local community over the concerns of, in the end, it really does come down to money. I mean, nobody's going to throw money away or disregard it, but in the end, as a city, is it worth the city? Is the cost of $50,000 in a year worth the return on having more unaddicted youth? Or, will it save, with the numbers that come into play, will it save us money in the long run? That's a tough decision to make, but if you're going to make that decision, you might want to err on the side of being a little safer. So I'm okay with sitting at a table and going over it some more, but I just don't know what happy medium you would expect to find that would have the same end result.
Councilmember Dahlman, can I respond to that?
Certain, that's fine.
Not from the, we need you to hear you for the minutes and the television public. We need you to be there. Thank you.
I guess it's difficult for me to answer other than the fact is what I've heard tonight. Like you said, I want to restate our position that there's several parts of this smoking thing. We're all for that. There's several folks in this group that have done a phenomenal job of presenting this side of the case. Right, wrong, or indifferent, me representing these local businesses or businesses here, have had 2 weeks.
Sure.
I want to make sure that I can do a lot of research, I get a lot of facts, I know everything's going through everybody's mind, oh, you're going to load up from tobacco companies. No, I'm not, because we all agree this is an issue. How do you solve the issue is the real challenge here. We pull together, get a lot more of our groups involved. Don't know where the chamber's going to be on this. Just try to really get out to businesses that may not even be aware of it yet. I don't know, maybe they already are. But give us a chance to kind of build it and present facts from our side that may support, not support, or whatever, so that when you do make a decision, you'll be able to make a decision and say, you know what, we've heard it all, there's nothing that wasn't said, and this is what we want to do. We're not trying to stall, we're not trying to delay it, we're just trying to make sure in a lot of these different situations, whether it's other issues other than tobacco, we always recommend it's best to hear both sides entirely and then make a good decision on your part.
Thank you. Vice Mayor.
This country's come a long way in the tobacco industry alliances and against tobacco. The Marlboro Man no longer rides across our television set smoking a cigarette. He died of cancer. There's also commercials that aren't out there that the youth can see, even the adults can see. But I really feel like it boils down to education. You young people make a difference. You've got parents, you've got siblings, you've got other people that are watching you and the way you act. I can tell you right now, my dad smoked, I didn't. 4 of my siblings did, another one didn't. And then their children didn't smoke. My kids, all three of my kids smoked. Their children right now and their grandchildren have hounded them about smoking because of being educated in the schools about how bad it is. What you're doing is wonderful. I came in here tonight, here's the fence, and I'm right on the top of it as to which way I want to go with this. And the more I hear, the more I think that you could make the biggest difference, more so than the ordinance or what we're doing. I'm almost to the point of challenging the group to go to the county, to go other places and spread this, because you've got your act together. You've got facts and figures that are amazing, and you've impressed me an awful lot. But I think that the education that my grandchildren and my great-grandchildren are giving their parents, out of my 3 children and their husbands, there's only 1 smoker left, because these kids are diligent, and they nag. They really get you. Just eat too much sugar, they'll tell you too. But I think what you can do is what these little kids are doing with their folks. There's no smokers hardly left in my family, because these little people are listening to what Matt Forrest and different organizations in the community are telling them, and they're going back like recycling. I mean, my one grandchild told me that I had to recycle something the other day. How do you know? Well, the school told me. I said, well, school doesn't tell me. So anyway, the kids are listening, and they're getting to their parents. So at this point, I think talking with these other people, like Jesse said, it may bring out some other points. Maybe we could fine-tune this a little bit to make some other people happy. But there's not a whole lot we can do with it. It's well written. It's very well thought out, and like I said, your facts and figures are just amazing. So, and I think, to me, it's education, and it starts at the grade school, kindergarten, and on up. But if you can continue to stay out there and educate these other students, you're going to make a big difference. You really are. You are going to make the biggest difference. Thank you.
Tim?
It's an interesting issue. And I appreciate everyone showing up tonight, too, and following this through all the way from when we first started discussing it back in January, which, honestly, when I first saw the the proposal back in January, at first blush, I thought, well, I feel a lot the same as many folks in the room, that it's not the government's place to tell you when you can and cannot do something. And that was sort of at first blush, how I felt about it. But as I followed it through, and I did attend some of the youth commission meetings where this was discussed, and the more we learn about the human brain, the more we realize that that is a pretty critical moment. Being a young adult, when you can get addicted to substances much more easily, and I think the marketing agencies know this, the lobbyists know this, the tobacco industry knows this, and they've known it for a long time, and they've really marketed to the young people. So, it is up to government, and we are government, we are representatives of the community, and this is a very community-driven effort. It is up to us to fight those, to fight the bigger guns that are out there that are trying to push tobacco on our youth. So I've changed my mind, about it from when we first started discussing it, and I do see the benefits of enacting this ordinance. And there are many benefits, but it's frustrating to hear that we talk about a loss of sales, and we put that on the same scale as community health, and that is frustrating. I think no one here could deny that there will be a loss of sales to some of the local businesses. I think there definitely will be. However, we are talking about community health. And importantly, we're talking about putting Cottonwood on the map for the right reason. And I think this is a way that we can, again, make Cottonwood stand out for being progressive and being a community that cares about its youth and cares about its community health. And, we are 11,000 strong. I think this is a groundswell movement from those 11,000 people. I think we've involved the stakeholders since January, those 11,000 stakeholders in our community. And I'm looking forward to hopefully the council approving this, and I believe the benefits, economic benefits, of being a community that cares about its youth will far outweigh the negative impact to sales and the negative impact to our community health in general. So I've changed my mind. Here I am now. Thanks.
Thank you. Randy?
Is Jen, could you come up? Have you taken this group and talked to the nation or to any of the other local communities about what you're doing here, and what's their take on that?
Jen Mabry, adult leader for Yahtzee. We have taken the point right now to really focus on this group of leaders with the intent to move through passing the ordinance, and our next steps will be to go to the next town over in Clarkdale. We plan on, and the kids have advised me that is their plan, to go and speak to our council and members of the community, our neighbors. And so that's where we're standing right now. It is their mission. They have told me they would like to see it go countywide and statewide. To Yahtzee, this is grassroots started here in our community. So that's where we are starting, that's where we're sticking to. But we do have full intent, Yahtzee has full intent to go to our neighbors. We haven't just yet, because we're solely focused on our city and the reaction that we will get.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah.
Mr. Tillmans?
I'd like to address the Vice Mayor's comment on the education of peers. And Yahtzee members, we all have parents that educate us. They get on us, and I thank you. But obviously the students that aren't here are the parents that don't educate them, that sometimes don't care, and it's sad, but it's true. And Yahtzee is already educating. We try so hard. We do. But the fact is that they don't listen. They're stubborn, and that's just the bottom line. And Tobacco 21 is the solution.
One could make this argument about any law,
that a city passes. The point of cities is local leadership reflecting the values of the community. Furthermore, tobacco control and much of public health work in general has always begun as local movement, whereas few civic leaders have had the courage to make these changes. This is that opportunity. The leaders of Cottonwood can lead Arizona in reducing the numbers of kids that become addicted to tobacco. In that way, the leaders of Cottonwood can have an impact far outside it, and they should. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Hadigi.
Thank you. Everybody said all the good stuff again. I just want to say that I'm in support of our youth and their efforts on this issue. And I'm in support of Ordinance 620. And I'm ready to, if the motion is cast tonight, to support this.
I would second it. Any more discussion? I might just share my thoughts also. It's really difficult to think about any business losing money, and I'm hoping that there can be looking at diversity, diversifying what you're selling, maybe be able to make up some of that if the council passes it, and I really care about that. I also think that less government is better government. But in this case, we're talking about health. We're talking about a cost to the public. If someone's indigent, the public is paying for that bill for that person to get health care. You can't smoke it on Verde Valley Medical Center. You can't smoke on the grounds. You have to go across the road now, across the street. There's, thank goodness, when you go in, because I smoked. I smoked from the time I was actually 21 and till I was 40. And it's not a healthy lifestyle. So it is difficult because I truly do believe less government is better. But in this instance, I think the cost to society for tobacco is huge. I mean, there's a huge cost that every taxpayer is paying every day, huge amounts of funds. So Cottonwood was, this has been discussed too, we were the first one to put pseudoephedrine behind the counter, and the Attorney General even came after us for that at that time.
I remember that well.
You do?
Yes.
Yeah. We were like really, I think the TV stations were here too, weren't they? Councilmember Howdegee that night?
Yeah, it was quite a brouhaha.
Yeah, and so and also spice, if you remember. People were just using spice and they were just freaking out all over town. And our police department and our healthcare providers were having people come in on gurneys. Did I say that, G, right? Maybe it's journeys. Having people come in and attacking the healthcare workers. And Cottonwood was one of the first communities that said, no, we're not going to allow that anymore. And eventually the state did follow that you can't buy spice in your local store, wherever that is. So I support this measure and have explained why. Yes, Mr. Garrison?
You know, I'm doing the math, and I'm following your math, which was a 1% profit margin. And I'm following your math, which you were at $1.5 million a year in loss of sales. That comes down to a bigger loss for the city at the end of the day than it does for the merchants themselves. It would come down to, if you split that up among your 15 merchants, as you stated, you're talking about $1,000 a year in profit for the entire year, which is a little over $80 a month per retailer per month for sales of what theoretically could be 18 to 21-year-old purchaser. To me, you know, and everybody sits in here, and the pro side and the con side is all saying the same thing: cigarettes are bad. So to sit here and talk about, and believe me, I'm all for free market, but to sit here and say that we need to look at profit and we need to look at margins over health and the safety of our youth is to me is almost unconscionable. And believe me, I want you to sell what you can. I want you to be successful with your businesses. But if we have to take and rely on keeping our businesses and our employees employed and paying wages to people based on preying on 18 to 21-year-olds to sell them this product that we know is going to cause lifetime problems, I just can't back that up. And they're giving us a way to be leaders, as it's been said here, and stand up and support our youth. And so I'm willing to do that at the loss of the sales taxes to the city, and unfortunately at the loss of those sales to your business.
Vice Mayor?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
First of all, they're a huge corporation, and the people he represents, I'm a single business owner. I don't have a 1% margin. If I don't get at least 20%, then I'm not going to be in business. That's the difference in the margins in my numbers. So I can't speak what their margins are. I'm speaking for me. Okay? I can guarantee you, you pass this thing, and retailers lose money, city loses money, and it's not going to change anything until you do it on a wider scale. It's really just, it boggles my mind that you people can sit here and think that they're not going to go to the quick country store, or they're not going to go to the Hawaiian Honey, they're not going to go to the reservation. They're going to. They got cars, they drive at 16. So you're doing this for a good reason. But it's not going to help until it gets home. It's not, and you guys should know that.
Mayor, I want to respond. You know, and that's exactly why I asked Jen what I did. Is, you know, you were right. You hit it right on the nail on the head. The reservation is going to be where we're going to send all these people to buy the cigarettes, and so I would push you to go to them first, because they've been very proactive on building their economy. They've been very proactive on setting up their youth for a future, and they should welcome this type of an ordinance in their tribal lands, and they should be willing to step up and follow suit with us to do this. So I would push you to go talk to them first, because they're going to be the biggest competitor we're going to lose.
Any other discussion?
Yeah.
By Vice Mayor?
I want to ask the committee again, are you determined? Are you actually going to go out and do that? If this passes tonight, is your next move to go out and start hitting the other communities up and go see their councils and go visit their communities? Because, like Rob says, it's not going to work if it's only Cottonwood. They are going to go no more than 2 to 3 miles in one direction or the other. They can go buy cigarettes. So if you want a commitment from us tonight, I'd like a commitment from you guys tonight that this is what you're going to do to help us help our communities.
So Ms. Rocha or Mr. Tillmans, any comments on a commitment?
I'm Sophia Rocha. Once again, I'm the president of YATSE, and I just want the council to know that since we started doing Tobacco 21, we decided to do it in September, I believe. We decided that we were going to do Tobacco 21, and since I was a person that was one of the people that co-founded YATSE in general, I was the person who believed that tobacco should be a challenge that should be faced by youth, not by adults to other adults. I believe it should be the youth bringing it to the adults and have the youth tell the adults what we believe. When we made Tobacco 21, my personal belief was that we were going to go immediately right after Tobacco 21 to surrounding communities. Like I said when I was speaking, they didn't go to other towns, and they were going to, there was a higher chance that surrounding communities were also going to go to 21. Stand AZ has tobacco coalitions that have already started throughout all of Arizona that have started doing Tobacco 21. We're just the first. We're the farthest. A lot of people don't know about the other tobacco coalitions that are trying as hard as we are. We're just the one that kind of started it all. We're the first ones in Arizona to actually even bring this to the table, and we're just hoping that you guys pass it.
So I would ask for your commitment that school's just about out, but I would ask for your commitment to work through the summer
I am.
with the other cities and towns, the Yavapai Apache Nation, so that our businesses aren't being penalized unfairly. Ms. Mayberry?
Thank you. Thank you, Sophia. I just wanted you to all know, you have my commitment as the youth adult leader, but I wanted you to know that we are also going to what's called Summer Summit. This is a celebration for all coalitions. Our coalition is going. We have 9 members attending from June 8th to June 11th in Phoenix, Arizona at the Wigwam, where we go celebrate what we have done, but also talk about the future. We will be speaking there. We actually have workshop helpers that are participating from our group. Noemi Cervantes will be an MC at this gala, and Sophia Rocha will be an ambassador there. So you have our commitment as well, and my commitment as an adult leader. We will definitely be speaking and planning at Summer Summit.
Thank you. Any other comments from, we've had Mr. Tillmans?
I just want to say I've read over this ordinance many times. The city attorney can probably. And I put hours into research in tobacco and vape products. I have researched arguments and counter-arguments, and I've put in so much effort into this Tobacco 21, and I'm not going to stop here. I'm going to go, I'm going to strive, and I will, and we, Yahtzee, will succeed.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So I would call for a vote, and since it's a contentious topic, we've had a first, Mayor Howdegi made the motion, I seconded it. So Mayor Howdegi's vote is obviously yes. Mr. Garrison? Yes. Ms. Vice Mayor?
Here's the fence, yes.
Okay, I'm a yes. Diane Jones for the record, because if raising our hands doesn't work when you're trying to transcribe minutes. Mr. Elinsky?
Yes.
Mr. Dowling?
Yes.
And Mr. Pratt?
I've fallen off the fence, Karen has. Yes.
Okay, so it's unanimous, the ordinance passes. City Clerk, please read ordinance number 620 by title only.
Ordinance number 620, an ordinance of the Mayor and City Council of the City of Cottonwood, Yavapai County, Arizona, amending Title IX, Public Peace, Morals, and Welfare of the Municipal Code by adding a new Chapter 9.12.040, prohibiting the possession, use, and/or sale of tobacco products, alternative nicotine products, or vapor products by or to persons under the age of 21. Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Moving on to the next, yes, Mr.
I'm going to excuse myself.
Okay, thank you. The next item is consent agenda. The following items are considered to be routine and non-controversial by the council and will be approved by one motion.
Mayor? Sorry. I think I want to pull one of those items. I just wanted to, I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Okay. There will be no separate discussion of these items until a council member or a citizen so request, in which case the item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered in its normal sequence on the agenda. Item number 1 is resolution number 2836, authorizing the police department to submit a fiscal year 2017 grant proposal to the Governor's Office of Highway Safety, seeking funds to cover overtime expenses associated with the department's DUI task force detail. Item number 2 is resolution number 2835, authorizing the submission of a grant proposal in connection with the Governor's Office of Highway Safety, GOHS, for year 2017 funding cycle. Item number 3 is change order for Arizona Northern equipment for additional work required under the job order contract awarded for the Mingus Avenue Reclaimed Water Line Project. And you would like to pull item number 3. Okay, so may I hear a motion for items 1 and 2 on the consent?
I move to approve items 1 and 2 on the consent agenda.
Second.
Okay, so
We can do it.
Who did it first?
Tim.
Okay, so Mr. Pratt made the motion and Mr. Elinsky seconded it. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 3, Mr. Dowling.
Yeah, I don't really have a problem so much with the result of item number 3. I just am a little bit concerned. My main concern was being in the engineering field. I know that if there are certain things, if you put plans out that have an error or an omission, there's insurance for that. And there's something like that. So I don't have a problem with the contractor getting paid for the work he did. I'm a little concerned about how that ended up, and sort of, I don't want to say I'm pointing fingers or anything, but I want to try and get an idea on how that came to pass, if the engineers didn't put it on the plan, if Blue Stake didn't stake it adequately, if the utility didn't know where their utility was. I just wanted to get a little bit better grasp on that in this situation.
I will do my best to explain it. Mayor, Council, this project was designed and drawn in-house.
Okay.
It went through 2 rounds of Blue Stakes, one for engineering, one for construction. Neither one of those Blue Stakes indicated that this fiber optic line was there.
Okay.
The drawings themselves indicate an overhead electrical line and a natural gas line. There's nothing about fiber optics in this location. So our X-ray vision didn't help us. In this
It's always fun when it's underground.
Yeah, exactly.
And fiber optic is pretty major. You're not wanting to be cutting into that, or you want to take care of that well.
It was a huge concrete block. It was over length of a football field from the roundabout to a power pole by the middle school. Because of the location of this project, I was concerned about safety and traffic flows and children and parents, and I thought it was imperative to get this project buttoned up as quickly as possible. That was my primary concern. Contractor came to me with these additional costs to make up for the wider trench, the deeper trench, having to shift things around, and his cost was slightly under $34,000. So, why did this happen? Once you start digging, you encounter things you didn't expect.
Right.
That's the bottom line.
Okay.
Couldn't predict or couldn't.
We try never to let this happen, but sometimes it does.
Okay, because my thing was really basically just if somebody made an error or an omission, I don't want the citizens of the city to have to back them up and pay for that. So if the utility didn't, if we call Blue Stake, because you're supposed to call before you dig, and there's nothing marked, I guess my thing is I really just would like to ensure this doesn't happen to the next guy down the road or to us again. So I'd really like to follow this through to figure out where the error was in there. And if the utility didn't mark it when it was said Blue Stake, then maybe the utility needs to bear some of the responsibility for not locating their utility.
If council directs that, then I will pursue it starting on.
I just want to see that through because I'm in that business and I know how that goes. If I did that, it'd be a problem. So
Madam
I
Mayor?
just,
Yes, Mr. Horton.
I just wanted to address something that seems maybe to be relevant to Mr. Dowling's concern, and normally I would have consulted with staff before it, but it's just kind of coming up, with this concern. And usually before I ask a question in public, I'm supposed to know the answer, but I'm breaking that rule. It seems to me that to the extent there was an error, there's still a question of damages.
Right.
If, let's say we knew the line was there, then I imagine, and Roger needs to speak to this, not me, but I imagine the scope would have changed, and the bids would have changed, and the cost would have changed.
right.
I'm not sure there's 100% correlation, but I think that's relevant to the discussion. I'd invite Roger maybe to speak to that.
I think you're correct that the cost would have increased, though I doubt seriously if it would have gone up by this much. This was kind of an emergency measure.
Normally it's like beforehand it's like $1 a linear foot. Afterhand it's like 10. So usually there is an increasable factor in there that goes into it.
If we'd been able to plan for it, we would have had the materials on site, and the contractor would have known that this was something he was going to encounter. And it would have driven up the cost, but I think it would have been less.
Okay.
So there is a damage to us. There is an additional cost that we did not foresee.
So then, because I thought maybe that we had been working with SOMAS, I think, on the other part of that. So I didn't actually know that these were in-house plans. So I'm not sure if they're in-house plans. Did we have a civil engineer stamp on those or review of those in that way?
The city engineer did.
Okay. All right. Just making sure. Okay.
I think that, Councilmember Dowling's point is a good point, though. Where does the responsibility lie? And why would the citizens have to pay for it what are the rules if if a utility doesn't locate
Randy
the
might know.
utilities, then I don't know.
Whose line was it? Was it cable TV or was it telephone?
It's either CenturyLink or AT&T. I'm not exactly sure which one. It's fiber optic, so it's a major cable. It's the one that runs through town.
One of the things I've got a problem with, well, two things. One is, the city owns the right of way. So when you encounter something that's in our way on a job that's under construction, we have the right to stop the job, tell that utility to get their stuff out of the way, and then proceed with our job. Yet we didn't. We moved around the obstruction that we didn't know existed, and we're paying the price to protect a utility that wasn't doing their job in providing us knowledge of that being in that place. So one hand, I'm kind of surprised that we didn't stop and reevaluate the situation the minute we found something in our way, and we just continued to move forward. And the other is that we don't have some recourse to go back to this utility and say, you caused us a fairly significant increase in the cost to provide this job. You need to pony up some money or we're going to have to deal with your franchise. Because they're the ones that dropped the ball, if I'm understanding the way this job went. And I haven't talked to the contractor, I haven't talked to you, I haven't talked to anybody about it. But it's being presented as if this was a complete out of nowhere moment when this huge conduit run was located, and now we're having to back up and pay the contractor significantly more money, which I understand that it's not his fault that this was encountered. I'm just kind of curious why we didn't just stop at that point, reevaluate the situation, and go forward when it was figured out. But it is what it is, and we're done with it. But I am nervous that we're going to continue going all the way to Main Street without necessarily having dealt with this part of it correctly. So this doesn't end up becoming, instead of a $30,000 change order, a $300,000 change order.
I understand.
Yeah.
To our knowledge,
I do think the justification for continuing, though, is answered in here. It was in a pretty critical spot in front of the middle school, and it just says that, yeah, they continued with it because of safety concerns, and so that probably played a role, too.
to our knowledge, the line goes overhead.
Yeah.
300 feet.
And while we kept going.
But your point is,
But yeah, whoever line, fiber optic line that was, that seems like we should have known about it.
I agree.
Well, is there an opportunity to go to the utility and ask for damages or anything like that? I mean, what do we do?
First step is to know whose line it was,
Yeah.
and then to figure out if they were asked to locate it. If another question I would want to ask is, did we have as-built available to us?
Right.
If we're going to trace back who bears responsibility, as the predicate to figuring out what the damages are, we need to figure out whose line it was, and then ask the question, why wasn't it known about before we awarded the job?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think it's a conversation worth having, and I would agree. The builder, the gentleman doing the work, it's important to pay them. They certainly were unaware. They were working off a set of plans that they assumed was accurate. So, but anyway.
I think the contractor will appreciate that.
Certainly. And most importantly, just make sure it doesn't happen twice.
Yeah. I have a question. So can we approve this tonight and then further investigate and see if we can recoup some of those losses?
Absolutely. Two separate issues. One is, are we going to compensate the contractor?
Yeah,
for
well,
the
we
issue
want
of
to
the work?
compensate the contractor.
And then there's the the question that seemed, that the item was pulled to discuss.
So could I make that part of the motion?
Certainly.
So can I make a motion?
Please.
I approve the change order for Arizona Northern Equipment in the amount of $33,956.53 for additional work required on the Mingus Avenue Reclaimed Waterline Project, and suggest the city pursue this to see if we can get reimbursement for whosever mistake this was.
I'll second that.
Accepting if it was ours, we won't sue ourselves.
No.
Okay.
That might be fun.
Did you second it?
I'll second that.
Okay, so Mr. Pratt made the motion, Mr. Dowling seconded it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. City Clerk, please read resolution number 2836 and 2835 by title only.
Resolution number 2835, a resolution of the Mayor and City Council of the City of Cottonwood, Yavapai County, Arizona, authorizing the submission of a grant proposal in connection with the Governor's Office of Highway Safety fiscal year 2017 funding cycle. Resolution number 2836, a resolution of the Mayor and City Council of the City of Cottonwood, Yavapai County, Arizona, authorizing the Police Department to submit a fiscal year 2017 grant proposal to the Governor's Office of Highway Safety, seeking funds to cover overtime expenses associated with the department's DUI task force detail. Madam Mayor.
Thank you. And I'm going to take a little break. Do you want to go on? Items?
Okay, new business. The following items are for council discussion, consideration, and possible legal action. Number 1, consideration of approving 1 hour of paid time off for city staff the days they commute to work on their bicycles during National Bike to Work Week, May 10 through the 20th, 2016. Whose is this?
A no-brainer.
No-brainer. Oh, there he is.
Not that you're the no-brainer.
Well, combining high brains. And Mayor, Council, hopefully this is a quick and easy one for you. So the Bicycle Advisory Committee, along with the city's wellness team, last year partnered up with an initiative to help spawn healthy activity for city employees. The county has a similar program that operates year-round where certain departments are allowed half an hour during the day for time to work out, as well as the hospital does the same thing. They provide an hour, also year-round. So this program kind of jumps off of that one a little bit and hopefully allows city employees to ride their bicycle to work in honor of National Bike Week.
Mr. Pratt?
Yeah, we jumped all over this one last year because, again, Cottonwood does take pride in being a city that promotes health and well-being, and it gets cars off the road and it encourages our employees. So I think this is a no-brainer.
You think so?
Yeah, I couldn't see any objection to this.
Any discussion? Anybody else got? Yes, Mr. Elinsky?
I'm going to be the negative Nancy like I was last year. Talk about how it's taxpayers' money that's paying for the city employees to get time off for riding their bikes to work, which is something I know you do, and I'm very appreciative of that. I think commuting on bikes is something I did before I was self-employed contractor, but you know, I think it's very important. I'm glad that you're taking steps to make our community more healthy. However, it's taxpayers' money. The best job you can have right now, Pike County, is working for the government, so it's hard for me to justify spending, our relatively poor community's tax dollars to give some of the better paid employees in the community time off. However, I support the program very much. I just wish there was another way we could incentivize riding your bike to work during this important week that wouldn't involve basically a subsidy from the poor people of our community. And I did think of some other things, like if we could get more collaboration, with the hospital, the college, some of the other bigger employers, Pike County, and maybe do, a sort of a friendly competition where, if you commute to work on your bike, and then you get entered into a raffle to win some kind of a prize. Maybe get the local business community involved where they could something where it wouldn't cost the taxpayers money, which I know this is a minimal cost, but it's important, I think. And the optics of it, for me, are at least difficult. So, sorry to be the negative Nancy, but
We're getting used to it.
that's good. Anyway, and just curiously, who is on the Bicycle Advisory Committee and who's on the Wellness Committee?
We have individuals from the county, as well as citizens, myself. So it's a collective group of stakeholders within the community. I can name names if you want.
Any more discussion? Okay, Mr. Pratt.
I'll make a motion.
Okay.
I move to approve 1 hour of paid time off for city staff who commute to work on their bicycles to be used on the matching day of their travels during National Bike to Work Week.
I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
No.
No.
I'm actually going to jump on the negative Nelly bandwagon with Tim on that one. No, I just,
2 noes.
I just fully appreciate it and support it, but I understand Tim's point, and I kind of echo that as well. It'd be nice to find some options to make that work better for everybody.
Let's get on the Bicycle Advisory Committee.
You can go.
I think I've been to some
They're
meetings,
nice, they don't
actually.
bite.
Yeah.
Are you writing still?
It passes.
Not as much as I should be, so I'm going to hang my head.
Okay, so moving on to the next item. Thank you very much. And thank you for all you do for the bicycle community. We really appreciate you. You put a lot of time into that and care. Okay, so the next item is resolution number 2838, designating the election date and purpose of election, designating the deadline for voter registration, and designating the place and the last date for candidates to file nomination papers. Ms. Jimenez.
Madam Mayor, council members, it's time for our city election, and this is the first time that we'll be on the fall election cycle following the change in the state law. This resolution designates the election date of August 30th, 2016 for holding the primary election in the city of Cottonwood for the purpose of nominating candidates for council member and for the position of mayor. It also designates the general election to be held on November 8th, 2016, and any candidates receiving a majority of all the votes cast at the primary election will be declared elected without having to run in the general election. There's a new, different formula for that, which right now I can't explain to you because it's
so unique and different.
It's more complicated than it used to be. The election shall be a consolidated election conducted through the Yavapai County Elections Department. The deadline for voter registration for the primary election is August 1st, 2016. That's a deadline to register to vote for the August 30th primary election. The deadline to vote for the November election is October 10th. And candidates who don't know about seeking office at this time may pick up their candidate forms in my office, starting now. It was as of Monday. And they must be filed in my office by June 1st at 5 p.m. in order to get their names placed on the ballot, provided that they provide the petition signatures, nomination petition, and financial disclosure form. Madam Mayor.
Thank you.
I'll see you at 4:59.
City Clerk, please read resolution number 2838 by title only.
Don't we have to vote on it first?
Well, do you think?
Yeah, I move to approve resolution number 2838.
Second.
So Mr. Pratt made the motion. Yeah, that would have been a big snafu, huh? And the vice mayor seconded it. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Please read the ordinance.
Resolution number 2838, a resolution of the mayor and council of the city of Cottonwood, Yavapai County, Arizona, designating the election date and purpose of election, designating the deadline for voter registration, and designating the place and the last date for candidates to file nomination papers. Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Claims and adjustments.
Move we pay the claims.
Second.
The vice mayor made the motion. Mr. Elinsky seconded it. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. I move we adjourn.
Second.
Third.
Three people seconded it.
I'm number 5.
The mayor made the motion, and who was first?
I think
Mr. Pratt seconded it. We're adjourned.
Big T.